All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans, audio fans of all shapes and sizes and sorts and persuasions. Welcome to another creator chat on the SGGQA podcast. I forgot to turn off my audio of the stream, so I just heard myself in my ear, and that's super distracting. Creator chat, just for a quick refresh. Creator chat is an infrequent series that I like to do on this podcast channel, where we get to kind of peek behind the scenes. We get to have some extended conversations. I think in this age of digital content and multimedia, it's easy to lose sight of how much work and how much care and how much thought goes into the YouTube videos that you enjoy. And so when I find especially when I find a new creator, a channel that's growing really well, that's kind of blown up right now, and someone that I think is doing something interesting with their community and their conversation, uh, that's where I'm always really excited to not only highlight that, but sit down and have a conversation. And so that's where I'm introducing this podcast's guest, the prestigious audio. Okay, so we're gonna sort of jump in loosely into a conversation immediately, but LFA Reviews. Do you want to be called an audiophile? Would that be your self designation for your music listening preferences?
No, not necessarily, because I'm sort of more of like an audio enthusiast, I guess you could say.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not super deep into it that way. Obviously, the audiophile game is really it can be a money game sometimes, man. And the
Yeah.
equipment gets really expensive and the sound gets expensive, and it's like I kind of can't afford that sort of level of stuff. So, but yeah, more of like an audio enthusiast, if anything.
So I appreciate you saying that. I've always called myself an audio snob
Right.
in that I have a very high demand for practicality, but that I'm not chasing that super premium top dollar, like, well, I've got vintage tubes in my headphone amp with these, acoustically treated walls. Like, for me, audiophile has always been like, let's throw an obscene amount of money at the solution of listening to my favorite vinyl.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, I need something that is going to play well if I'm holding a boom mic versus something that's connected to my phone, plugged into a mixer, plugged into an audio interface, and then also for some entertainment. So I have a high practicality threshold. So I am a snob.
Yeah. Yeah. In that sense, of course. Yeah. No, I totally get that.
But your channel caught my eye a little ways back, especially when I was trying to revive the subreddit,
Mhm.
our glowing rectangles, and just I felt like an immediate kinship. I mean, you think this is one of the things that I love about also reading through the comments on your videos is not only your perspective on what it is that you're trying to accomplish in your reviews, but a very clear sense and a very clear identity of trying to build a conversation and a community around an audio enthusiast, review lineup.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping we could jump in before we sort of get into like process and how you treat your reviews. Just how did you get started working the channel? I mean, did you intend to join YouTube to talk about audio? And especially in this age where a lot of consumer tech is sort of walking away from some of the things we audio enthusiasts claim to care about.
Right. Yeah. So it's sort of the way it sort of came about was I was already doing like gadget reviews and stuff like that on Amazon, just like based on text. So I wasn't doing video reviews or anything like that. And I kind of it felt, I don't know, it felt like I wasn't really going anywhere. You know what I mean? I wasn't getting feedback. I wasn't getting, a lot of people joining conversations or anything like that. It's just like people would skip over it. There was so many reviews. So kind of had this idea. I've been watching YouTube for a long time. I've been watching people's channels for a long time, and I thought, you know what, I should try that out. And I had wanted to start the channel back in like 2015, 2016,
Mhm.
and I was under the impression, because I was watching huge channels, that I needed all this hyper expensive equipment. And I finally came across another channel, and in passing, while he was making this review of some cell phone, he was like, "Oh yeah, and this is the phone that I use to shoot all my videos and edit all my videos." And he was using an LG. I don't know if it was a G3 or G4 at the time, but it was back in like 2016, and I was shocked. I was like, "Are you freaking serious?" So fast forward to 2017, it was like April, and I finally had gotten, I think it was either the S7 or the S8, and I was like, you know what, I'm doing this. So just started it up. I think was May 5th was the first time I put out a video. It was a dash cam review, which obviously never do well, but we all
I
had
mean,
to start somewhere.
someone just pitched me one, and you're like, I would love to talk about your product. I don't know that anyone is gonna watch that video, and I apologize.
Yeah, so it was just like reviewing whatever stuff I was buying because I was buying stuff anyway. So I was like, we're reviewing whatever was here and whatever I already had and whatever I was buying, and so like there wasn't much of a niche or cohesion in the channel. The first few months or even almost to the first year, until I really figured out what I wanted to do. And before all this time, we're a big music household. My brother's a DJ and a producer, and we were doing the DJing stuff since the early '90s.
Mhm.
So that's always been a huge, huge thing for us. So headphones have always been a big thing. I know for years I used the same set of Sony's for the longest time. So
Those studio MDRs?
yeah, there was. I think it was the
Everyone
um,
everyone goes through a Sony phase. I
yeah,
mean,
it
those
was like
things
the
are
700s, I think.
ubiquitous.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, man, but that was the thing. So that's how it sort of started off, and then eventually niched down into this. Once I realized that I had those were the videos that were doing far better on my channel than anything else. So
So, I mean, but that sort of goes hand in hand. You were looking for some kind of, I don't wanna use a word like reinforcement, but you were looking for, because I joined sort of reviewing by trying to escape needy actors looking for home recording solutions. I was working at a talent agency, and, I was running a voiceover booth and would get question after question after question, and so I started from a very cynical place, like, I can't keep having these conversations one-on-one. Here's a blog, and there's this guy who's doing audio reviews, and you can check out his stuff, and it was me. Um, but it wasn't until I started sort of going broader tech that I realized, like, oh, I'm having way more fun joining a conversation with folks after I've finished sharing my opinions.
yeah,
And then that's where the magic happened. And so, do you still interact with, or do you still try to post stuff to Amazon, or is this completely sort of taken over as the preferred platform to chat with people?
yeah. No, I mean, I basically stopped maybe like that first month as soon as I got in, and then was posting up the videos, and it took a while to get some traction going, but
Mhm.
I mean, even off the first video, I immediately got comments and questions and things like that. And I'm like, hey, so that was more instant, I guess, instant gratification in a sense, but it showed me that there was a way to build a community. And
Yeah.
that's really what it's really all about, and having a conversation. So that was once I started seeing that that was the kind of feedback I was getting, people were, excited to see where I was going to go. And I was getting a lot of like, hey man, I know you're just starting out, but keep at it. You can do better. You can do this. And um, I basically gave up on doing the Amazon reviews like completely. I stopped, and it's just been just on the channel only ever since then. Yeah.
So, when you talk about that kind of early reaction, your channel's just over a year old now? You started.
Oh no, no, this is I started May 2017, so I'm
Oh,
coming
so
up
a
on
little over 2 years old now.
almost in May. It'll be 2 years, so we're getting there.
And so you also just had a nice little milestone, though, not only cracking 10,000 subscribers, but you're about to hit 12, right?
Yeah, well, I've been 11.2 as of today. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it took off really quick. From 9 to 11 was like a matter of a couple of weeks, which is really, really crazy.
I remember when I broke 10, suddenly the whatever algorithm god we're supposed to be chasing suddenly seemed to care more about making sure that I was showing up in search. And so
Yeah,
that to me is always an exciting threshold to hit.
yeah,
Because then you start to see like a little bit better traction. They're starting to take monetization a little bit more seriously on your channel. Search is starting to show up a little bit more. And at the same time, it's coinciding with some really exciting product launches that you've gotten to cover.
yeah, yeah. Doing the having a chance to do the Galaxy Buds was really exciting for me. So big thanks to my buddy Jason Lewis from Painfully Honest Tech, who got me into the Samsung event. So that was a big thing. So that was the
That's
first time I ever went to an event, and it was great.
That's a good get. But I mean, also in like not just Samsung, but that entire playlist on your channel, I think has been enjoying some positive success as we've been in this fad of apparently cables are a huge problem for people. And
Yeah.
so like my preferred are neck bands. I've got my One Mores over here on the table next to me. But apparently that's a bridge too far for people now.
Yeah, dude, it's really weird, man. And I don't mind. Like, I mean, I'm wearing wired headphones right now. I have no problem with wires, and it's just amazing. You know, I think it's cool. I think true wireless earbuds and the technology is cool. And I remember testing them, you know, like 2, 3 years ago when they were really bad.
Yeah.
I really like how much better they've gotten
Yeah,
connectivity wise. But yeah, I mean, it's still they still have a ways to go, in my opinion.
I agree.
And but it's getting better. So and I like the you know, I like where we're going, and I hope that companies start sort of paying attention to that stuff. And we'll see. I know we got AirPods 2 coming out, so hopefully they'll make some improvements that are much needed.
I'll be real curious to see because I have some very real concerns. Both I mean, we'll get into that. I'm sure the not only the physiology, the health aspects of AirPods, but then also just the e-waste. I mean, like from
Mm,
people who bought first gen when they first launched and who really use them. I mean, they're using them regularly throughout the day and maybe even like case charging them throughout the day. Just like they're already dying. And I get $150. I have some philosophical issues with that when I can point to just dirt cheap multi-driver cabled earbuds that would last for a long time. And then I also we've got a ton of people in the live chat,
yeah.
and this is also my chance, folks, to talk face to face with LFA. So I mean, I'm not going to ignore you guys, but I want to I don't get to, but we've got Viper, we've got Steve DeRouche, Bored at Work, and Abong Edda saying wires for life because he
Yep.
is definitely another audio enthusiast snob cut from a very similar cloth, especially
Yeah.
looking at his headphone wall. Gabaletta, tech for your needs. Mo Gutierrez, Sherrill, LeBaron, LS2. I see you all in there, and this is an amazing chat that you guys are already hosting for. So thank you so much for joining. I wanted to talk about myself for just a second. I have you here, but it's about me. This is sort of born from kind of a rambling diatribe of a blog post that I posted up on my Patreon, where I felt like I had done a good job of priming a smartphone audience from my perspective, because I genuinely do not believe that that there is such a thing as like an objective reviewer. Like
Mm,
we're all humans, we all have preferences, we all have perspectives, and I feel like the best reviewers lean into that.
yeah.
So when you develop a relationship with that reviewer watching their stuff, you know where they're coming from, and you also know where you disagree with that individual. And so I wrote up this piece just kind of like, I've never done this for audio. I've been reviewing recording equipment and headphones for years.
Mhm.
And I've never really just spelled out like, this is my process. And I felt like that was something that was a barrier or lacking in my conversations with the people who watch my videos. How have you gone about sort of addressing that with the people who come to you? Because I would imagine a lot of this is search, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we both have videos that score way higher than the number of subscribers we have. So
Right.
obviously they're finding our stuff. How do you engage with that when you're looking at product to product? And then what type of conversations are you having after the video is done so that people understand like, hey man, this is what I dig and this is why I'm sort of ranking a product the way I am. That doesn't mean it might not be the right fit for you.
Yeah, no, of course. And that was I actually tried to address that in a video as well, where it was called the video was called "It's Okay to Disagree with El Jefe." So, but it's the thing,
I liked that video. That's
yeah,
why I wanted to like point blank you right here on it.
yeah, no, of course, man. And unfortunately, I mean, that's probably one of the first times that I've had a chance to just address that topic and tell people like, hey, if you disagree with what I'm saying here, go ahead and say it. And I was trying to address it because I've had people come in and be like, you're completely wrong, and I tried these two and they sucked and this and that. I'm like, listen, this is subjective. This is the type of sound that I like. So if you don't like a type of sound, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying we just agree to disagree.
Mhm.
and there was a few people who were attacking me, and it was one of these things where I was telling them like, listen, dude, I'm not telling you you're wrong, but they were telling me I was wrong. So it was just one of those things where I was like, what, I need to address this real quick. And normally what'll happen though, also, like, I'll post a video and people will ask me stuff, and usually I'll tell them, like, they're like, oh, what kind of sound do you prefer? And I'll give them an idea of the exact type of sound. Like, listen, I prefer the way that this headphone sounds over this headphone. It just depends on what it is. So, or sometimes sometimes some people don't get it. Like, they'll use one headphone for everything,
Yeah.
and then I have a thing, like, I have a tool for every job. So I have
Yes.
certain headphones for certain things, and some I prefer for listening to vocals and music. Some I have for classical. If I want to get down with like hip hop and trap, I have headphones for that stuff. So it just depends, and I don't have one for everything. So sometimes I try
Now,
to explain it
haven't
to
you
people.
found that conversation to be so challenging? Because in one of my recent reviews, I'm again, I was referencing my One Mores. They have two products that are roughly the same price point, and they're for very different audiences. They look exactly the same. And I had a real hard time with some of the comments that I was getting about this. Like,
Yeah.
even the idea of separating, like, I want to sit and focus on the audio. Like, I want that to be the experience, not I'm soundtracking a workout or I've got music playing in the background while I'm trying to work. I mean, like, I want to enjoy music. That is a completely different headphone solution than when
Mhm.
I'm on my exercise bike.
Yep.
Completely different. And I am so much happier for having two solutions, like a sport and a leisure
Yep.
solution for my audio. And I might even get fancy and recommend three. Like, if you do a lot of traveling, have a sport, leisure, and airplane solution for your
Oh,
audio.
absolutely.
And
That's
even
great.
that, I mean, so like when you encounter that, I mean, I'm of sort of two minds. There are some people where I kind of like, if you come at me with the wrong energy, I'm just going to write you off. I'm not even going to try and educate at this point. So often I get kind of drawn into the trap though of there might be a glimmer of hope, or like I can have a conversation with this person even though they're like telling me that I should just use AirPods for everything. Um and they're objectively wrong.
Right.
Again, agree to disagree, but you're wrong. Sorry, that was me being a snarky butt. But just trying to describe that notion, and I'm not saying like you need to spend $400 on every single solution, but
Right.
there's a reason why I'm trying to present these for a specific demographic. What has been what would you say are some of your successes in getting that idea across when you're engaging with people like that in your comments?
It's usually, I'll try to ask them what type of music they listen to, and then
Mhm.
sort of try to wrap that around, like, what it is, like, my experience with it. That's why I like the fact that I like a ton of different music. So usually when somebody will say, "Oh, this is what I listen to," then I have an idea, or and I can sort of say, "Okay, this might not be what you're looking for. You may want to go a different route." And usually I'll tell them that and say, "Hey, but let me know how it goes." And I've had overwhelmingly people have come back and said, "Man, that was a great suggestion." So I like the way that that works out, especially getting that kind of a conversation. Usually songs will help to make that decision, and then some people actually know what they want. There's some people that know, like, hey, I want balanced, or hey, I'm a
Mhm.
total bass head and I want all this bass. I'm like, hey, you know what? I got some suggestions for you then. So, but yeah,
Let's chat. Let's chat
yeah,
some skull rumblers.
yeah. So yeah, there's always something for everyone, and I really like that some people are willing to have that convo, because usually what I'll get most of the time is just, is this better? Is this headphone better than this headphone? And I'm like, dude, those are two completely different headphones. Like, they're not the same. They're not the same category. It'll usually be something like a nice wired set of Audio Technicas versus some random wireless on Amazon. I'm like, dude, this is not. These aren't even the same
Right.
category. I know they're both called headphones, but they're completely different.
So
So
what about like these really expensive Bear Dynamics and then like these Xiaomis that I found off of
yeah,
Banggood?
I'm telling you,
Which
dude.
which are the best?
Oh man, that's exactly how the conversation goes. It's like, I'm like, I
Uh,
don't know, man. Yeah,
so
it's rough,
uh,
man.
I kind of want to break down the whole chain. So I mean, like I wrote this, I think it's like 1,800 words, and
Mhm.
bless you for reading through at least some of it when
Oh no, I read
I
the whole thing. That
approached
was
you.
cool.
to do this video, because it is sort of the ramblings of an old man yelling at kids to get off his lawn, but about audio.
Yeah.
I kind of want to break down a part of this process and sort of split it up and see, like, where you come from, and have this kind of conversation where I think we can kind of both share, like, this is what goes into it. Because I kind of feel, from the conversations we've had offline, I kind of feel like we go about these things in different ways, but with a very similar sort of attention, or at least a very similar forethought in what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Walk me through, just you get a package in the mail, you crack open the box. What are some of the first things you start looking for?
So fresh out of the box, like, good thing that something came in today, so I just did this today. But
Me too.
yeah,
I'm actually
yeah.
like, I was taking the cellophane off while you're like, ooh, look at this packaging. I don't do unboxing videos. I'm just going to put this back over here so I can talk on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Nah, no worries. But yeah, no, the same thing. Like I'll open them up and I'll sort of see, like, I stopped doing unboxings a while back. So but I do like when they have, a nice packaging, nice presentation. It's always nice. It's always nice to see. And if it's really good, I'll mention it, but I normally don't show them anymore. But immediately when I open them up, I'll look at what are included in the package, what all comes, with it, if there's any accessories, anything like that. After that, I'll start looking at the build quality. Like,
Okay.
how is it built? How are the ear pads? How are they attached to it? How is, the comfort? Me being a bald guy, sensitive to lack of padding on the top. So I usually mention that in headphone reviews because I wear headphones for long periods of time. So, I'll talk about that stuff as well. And then usually I'll go ahead and pair them up to my phone, whichever phone I have on me, whether it's the iPhone or the Galaxy, and see how the pairing process goes. If it's complicated, if it's a pain, what I got to do. And then just do some like initial impressions, listen to them real quick, go through a quick playlist, maybe listen to about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes just while that, like, I'm on a break at work, just to get an initial idea. Okay, this is what I'm thinking. And then later on, I'll go through the full battery of tests. But yeah, it's
No, just to kind of, we got a super chat in here. Roberto Blake
nice.
asking best headphones for clean monitoring as an editor. First of all, Roberto, I've been loving your content on empowering content creators and having them join very philosophical conversations about how to approach, telling stories. So first of all, thank you for joining the chat here. And I very much appreciate you throwing in a super chat. So I want to get to your question in just a second, but what I want to circle back to first is just real quick, that idea of unboxings. And I don't know if you feel similarly to me. I want to sort of drink in the whole experience of ownership. And I found, especially when I was trying to do like an unboxing or a 24 hours first impression, that I was really performing the act of being a consumer, and I really wasn't paying attention to what it was that, like, this is what I would enjoy, or this is what I wouldn't like, or this is what I would be concerned about. And I was losing that. Like, the whole beginning ownership of a new product was sort of evaporating for me, because, like, I was trying to perform and make the act of opening a box entertaining. When you decided you were going to back off of unboxings, was there sort of a design behind that, or was it just like something like just an abbreviation, or you just wanted to get right into using the product?
It was more based on a couple things. First was analytics. Viewer retention was dropping off at the unboxings. So that was a first. And it was making it was as I was transitioning from just being like a spec read kind of a dude to being full on, this is my opinion on this product. And giving you my story about it. And so that's where the unboxing sort of didn't fit into the narrative that I was trying to create with my review videos, because it's all about, my experience using them. And I wanted just to get straight into that, I'm not going to say that unboxings are a waste of people's time, because there's plenty of people that do them. They do them really good and it's entertaining. But it's just, I don't feel like it was helping my conversation or helping the type of videos that I was trying to make.
So and I'm of a very similar mind, where it's exceedingly rare that I feel like I'm going to have a product in my hands where the act of me opening it is really going to be because I tend to internalize a lot. I
Mhm.
mean, I come from a theater background and I was a dance minor in college, and like I
Nice.
want to be on a stage and perform when I feel that's appropriate. It's why I've been struggling with Twitch,
Yeah.
is because I feel like I can't just play the game. I need to be entertaining while I play the game, and then I'm not really playing the game. And I kind of felt like, damn, the same thing is happening to my gadget coverage. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd kind of like to get your thoughts real quick on Roberto's question here before we cycle back into some of the review process. I think immediately the question I would ask if someone comes at you with like a pro consideration, like mixing and monitoring, I would want to know budget. But I
Right.
started out on a pair of Bear Dynamics 770s, and then I moved over to Sennheiser. But I was more of a field mixer, so I was using HD 25s. What would you recommend? Maybe sort of dipping your toe into something that's a little bit more professional focused rather than like something that's going to color the sound in a more entertaining way.
Let's see. I mean, for me, I mean, the what I did most of my videos editing wise on was the Audio Technica M50Xs for the
Oh, those are
longest
great.
time. Yeah, for
Yeah.
the longest time, I'd use those. Now I've been sort of switching back and forth on a few different ones, but I really liked how clear everything sounded on those. I liked how balanced they were. So usually, if somebody asked me, assuming that they fit into people's budgets, that
Yeah.
was usually what I was telling them to go with. Aside from that, if they had a little bit more, I like the Sony MDR 700s, and
Yeah.
those I don't
I
I
like
don't think they're making them anymore. But
I mean, but one, they're ubiquitous to still find and get replacement parts for. Because
yeah,
again, that's what I loved about my HD 25s
yeah,
is for an outdoor, boom mic operator kind of usage. Like it's that joke, you've got a mop. So you
yeah,
replace the mop head at one point and then you replace the mop handle. Is it still the same mop? Those are my HD 25s. Like every
right,
single piece of them has been field stripped and replaced at some point. But like, I paid $200 for them up front and then just like I keep investing in them over time, even though Sennheiser has discontinued them a couple years ago.
yeah,
I kind of feel like Audio Technica, Sennheiser, Sony. I still like Bear Dynamic.
yeah. They're
They
nice.
haven't quite caught the same vogue as like consumer vogue, but I still think they offer up some just like really well understood and consistent audio products. Those are typically some of the companies I go for.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something more in-ear monitory, what do you think you would recommend?
Oh man, I'm still in the budget range on the in-ear monitor stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
the AS10s from KZ are really nice.
You don't
Um,
think the Deep V on that would be a little too much for
oh man,
mixing?
could be.
'Cause I kind of feel like if I were gonna go in ears, like for right now, I'm wearing the custom molds for
Yeah,
Me Audio.
yeah. I haven't had a
So
chance to try their stuff yet, man.
that's at 250, but the actual earbuds are pretty decent at like $50.
Nice.
Not bad. Single driver, but kind of a bit more focus on the mids, and
Mhm.
they roll off low frequency nicely without completely just stomping on it, so you don't overmix it.
Yeah.
You played with the Ecos, right?
Which ones?
That was it the OH ones?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, those things were excellent, and
I
they were
liked
super
those.
comfortable. Yeah, they were excellent. I really like those. Those were probably, I think those are pretty sure those were the most expensive IEMs I've tried so far.
I
Uh,
mean, like, I think they fight
yeah.
well against, Shures that are
Mm.
probably gonna run a bit more
Oh,
expensive.
was it well, I think the only ones at the Shure I tried were the 215s.
Everyone's gone through I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm sorry, I'm talking about a more professional circle, but,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
literally everybody hold on, I've got it right here on my desk. Everybody's gone through a pair of Shures, like,
Yeah, I had a chance to
everybody.
try yeah, I had a chance to try them out, when I was trying to get a review sample from one of my brother's friends, who sells, equipment out here, and I was trying to get a sample from him. It didn't work out, but I did get a chance to listen to him, and I was very impressed, but it was just one of those things.
They've earned their reputation. It's just really interesting to see that we're in kind of an audio renaissance
Yeah.
where it's not that the ecos are better, but they're doing something really interesting at a very nice price point against options that perform similarly, but used to perform similarly for significantly more money.
Yeah.
I used to swear. I have a pair of little boutique Nobles. They were dual driver but flippable, so you could
Mm-hmm.
have like nice music listening or cold, harsh accuracy.
Ah, okay.
And those were 500.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, in terms of the fun, juicy music listening, like a $50 pair of KZ just stomp them into the ground. So like I don't feel bad that I spent so much on them when I did, because they
Yeah.
are years old, but like we we can do better now.
Yeah.
I want to throw a quick thank you shout out to Android Stud in the live chat. Another super chat for two bros giving us some guns.
Nice.
I don't really have guns. I'm working on it. I just have dad arms because I'm always picking up a toddler.
That's my
Um,
buddy Leo, man. He's got a great channel too.
oh, right on.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll check
Yeah.
him out. Oh, actually, Android Stud sounds familiar. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm easily distracted and I have no concept of linear thought. So I want to get back into the review process. You've cracked open the box.
Yeah.
I need to put you on the spot. This is probably the most important question you have ever been asked or will ever be asked as an audio reviewer. I mean, this is critical, and I need you. I need your brain on this one.
Got it.
You've plugged it into some type of device, and
Yeah.
I'm going to circle back to your devices because we'll have to chat about what you're listening to music on.
Sure.
But new pair of headphones. What is the first song you test with?
That's easy because I use the same one every time. So it's Europa by Santana.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Oh man, it's so good. Every time I hear that song, especially on a decent, at least a decent level set of headphones, I
Yeah.
will still get the chills every single time.
What did you pull? What did you pull the song from? Like a CD rip?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
Santana ever do like SACD or anything like that?
I don't know. Yeah, I
I
had
need
to
to look
actually.
that up.
Yeah, I had my brother get them for me, but they're usually he'll either give me waves that are super high res from his music
Mhm.
production stuff that he gets. So he'll get me something like that. They're usually CD quality 320 or better,
Nice.
48 and all that stuff. So it's like they sound really freaking good. So he'll get me stuff like that, and it's yeah, Santana just it blows me away, man. It's every single time that song, man. It's so much emotion that he puts into the guitar, but not only that, all the instrumentation
Mhm.
and especially in the mid range, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I use that to relax. Yeah,
Well, that's good. I mean, you go chill. So,
yeah.
because you know this about me already, because I shared with you my rambling diatribe. A number one, every single time I try and get my ears into "Killing in the Name of"
Oh
Rage
yeah,
Against the
dude.
Machine, their first album. I have I, I like again from a buddy of mine in recording sourced me this incredible vinyl rip
Nice.
where it's like it's hard to describe. I know I'm on a decent pair of headphones if the lead guitar and the bass, you've got Morello, I mean, just like shredding that song, but it's so perfectly recorded that you should hear like perfect sine waves of distortion. It's like I almost see it in colors and
Yeah,
sound waves in like perfect spirals and circles in this snarling, ripping, fuzzy, dirty bass guitar and this like plucky, punchy lead that like drums just surround it.
yeah.
And if it takes a tremendously bad pair of headphones for that to not sound incredible. It is
Oh,
absolutely, I mean, along with Santana, because the production work on all of his albums are phenomenal.
yeah.
But that Rage album, I still think I hold up as one of the
Oh yeah.
highest watermarks of rock
Oh
mixing and
yeah.
mastering
Oh yeah. For me, it's
before
Bomb Track, man. Bomb Track and what's the other one? Oh, Ghost of Tom Joad.
but I mean like we came out of grunge in a way where we'll just make it sound dirty and we'll make it sound claustrophobic and we'll make everything loud. I mean, even Metallica fell for that in
Mhm.
later albums where it's like they just compressed and limited everything to within an inch of its life. And then Rage Against the Machine comes out with Back to and Evil Empire is mixed very similarly, where it's like this scalpel like precision with instruments in space but it doesn't sound like cold digital artificially mixed.
No.
It's just precise with an attention to detail that I've heard rarely on other rock.
Yeah, there's even a warmth
Rock
to it,
whips.
which is really odd. So
Oh,
yeah.
but dude, okay, so offline, I'll send you this vinyl rip because
Right on.
it totally changes the bass without sacrificing a thump and a power to it. But you know, you can't hit low frequency as hard on vinyl as you can on a CD, or as I think they did do an SACD drop or a DVDA drop. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there, you can do the loudness war just for having all of that extra headroom on a 24-bit recording. But on vinyl, it is so creatively mastered to balance all of that. Again, it's subtle. I mean, compared to a really good CD rip, but like you'll hear it as soon as you plug in some decent, like throw on those ecos.
Yeah.
Throw on that OH1.
Yeah. Oh,
LeBaron Burton in the in the chat with an amazing super chat. And again, thank you so much. You guys are giving me a veritable love fest here. This is a great question, and I would love to get your opinion on this.
sure.
How many hours do you guys give your headphones for a break-in time? Do you believe in burn-in? Do you do burn-in on your audio kit?
Oh man, yeah. So I don't have a specific set time. I know a lot of people say it's got to be 20 hours or it's got to be 30 hours, and everybody has their own formula, of what they want to do with them. I have noticed a bit of a difference on certain headphones when I've listened to them, for a few weeks already, or put in at least 20, I'd say 10, 15, 20 hours. You start kind of noticing a slight difference. If you have a good ear, you'll notice it. I've told people to do this and like, I can't tell the difference. I'm like, well, and you can't tell the difference, but you know, I think it's usually somewhere between 20 and 30 of solid listening would be that'd be my expectation. At least in my experience. There's some headphones that I've gotten that sound far better a year later than they did when I first pulled them out of the box. And I'll go back and listen to them like, oh man, I forgot how good these sounded. So, but yeah, no, I think that's right around there. I'd say 20, 30 hours would be my guess.
I've been of two minds. Like I went through a phase where I was doing like burn in on frequency generators, like you get a pink noise generator and you crank the sound on that. And that's supposed to like get the diaphragms loosened up or tightened up or something, the electricity and the magnets and the science because reasons.
Right.
For me, I almost wonder if burn in through use, because you're sort of I'm sort of with you there. It seems to be about a day of listening, not one day to the next, but like 20 to 30 hours of listening. And I feel like I understand that product and I know what to expect. It's kind of like photography. Like you pick up a camera and you snap a photo with it and you have no idea what it's going to do, but you use it a couple hours every day for like a week and you're able to start predicting what the output is going to be like before you hit the shutter. And that's the magic time. That's where that's where you're doing creative work, because you're not focused on what is the camera doing. You're starting to trust it.
Right.
And that to me, I almost wonder, like, I don't know that burn-in is maybe so important for the physical hardware components, but it's critical for my brain and my ears to understand what those headphones are doing. And I'm listening for certain nuances and I'm starting to trust, like when I fire up a song, like just no good reason, I want to hear some Cyndi Lauper. That's not a part of like my mainstay test, but that's sort of on the back burner. Like I kind of like finding just funky things to kind of throw in there just to kind of mix up my ear and refresh it.
Absolutely.
And if I can predict what True Colors is going to sound like before I push play, then I feel like, okay, I'm on the pulse of what these are doing. I feel like I can now talk about this product with some kind of informed perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree.
So, I mean, like, yeah, especially agreeing about Cyndi Lauper, because I mean, we can all agree she's a national treasure.
No, but I do the same thing, man. I'll throw something different at a set of headphones that I've already like fully tested, and I'll find something different, and I'll be like, you know what? I wonder how these going to react to this. And like the other day, I was it was Jonathan Morrison had tweeted a song, and he was like, "You guys got to check this out if you have a really good set of headphones." And I had to try 3 different pairs. The singer's vocals were absolute fire,
Okay.
but there was some production going on in that song that these monoprices couldn't pick up. I'm like, what is going on? So I pulled out the Sony's and they picked up some of it, but there was some low frequency stuff going on that it wasn't working. So I had to pull out, I pulled out I don't know if you've tried the Lix Pro Has 30.
No, I haven't.
They're excellent. I mean, they're budget, but they're excellent. So I pulled those out, and there was some low end bass stuff going on in the production it blew me away. I was like, holy crap. So it was those through my small tube amp, and it just really came alive. It was great listening. So, but yeah, but it was something different. Like the music is like,
what was do you remember what the song was?
oh man, I'm trying to remember what it was. He had tweeted it out. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Jonathan Morrison's tweets. He tweets, so it's gonna take you a while to find.
Yeah, that's true. No, it was really good. It was because it caught my eye because he had posted a picture of some headphones, and I was like, "What? What's he talking about?"
Okay.
Oh, Julia Michaels.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what track you're talking about, but that was another recent find for me too. I mean, funny, it's like when there's sort of an artist just sort of floating through the ether. We're all sort of on that wavelength. Yeah, totally. I could see that. Here's one that I wanted to pick your brain on. So we've got a go-to song for you, Santana. I'm sure it's just like me with Rage. You know that, like, that's a song you could just like live in or wrap a blanket around.
Yep.
Do you have a torture test song? So like for me, like Santana's mix is so tight and so clean, and the instrumentation is so balanced,
right?
That like you have to have a bad pair of headphones for that song to not be represented.
Right.
Do you have a song specifically for, man, you have to have a great pair of headphones for this song to sound good?
It would be, I don't think I have something that's going to be more for like well-balanced music. It's going to be more for if I want to test if these headphones can really, what kind of bass they really have.
Gotcha.
Something like that. So there's 3 tracks that I mainly use for that type of test. One of them is Post Malone's Rockstar, and the other one, which one was the other one? Oh, X by I'm trying to remember his name. Kendrick Lamar. X is off the Black Panther soundtrack. So usually both of those 2 I'll do for that, and then I have some oddball trap songs that I'll do for that kind of testing. But it really, sometimes certain headphones just can't, like, anything above like 70%, they just can't reproduce what those tracks are putting down, and that usually will let me know. And it's sort of, as far as bass goes, those songs will separate the men from the boys.
So that's, I mean, and if you don't mind, I might even take a little of this conversation offline, because I'm a little less well educated when it comes to variant forms of like electronica. Like my go-to is, again, I want something clean, simple, and precise. To see if the headphones screw it up, I'll go to Daft Punk. You know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
that's beautiful.
It's a really clean, straightforward, get your ass on the dance floor disco. You know, like, I mean, very European sort of flair to it. But you know, like every time I hear Nile Rodgers guitar riffs on Random Access Memories, it's like it's like he's almost strumming a guitar to create glitch tracks. It's just so sharp and so clean. And again, like, man, you got to have a real terrible pair of headphones for this to not sound good.
I've run through a few of those already too.
I mean, that's what's sad is like we do find some examples of hardware that still can't pull off. You were talking about some of those early, like, I just got another pair that I'm sending them back. I didn't realize when they sort of hit me up like, hey, do you want to try our truly wireless earbuds? And they're like, no, but I will.
Yeah.
And they're just another knockoff of the same, like, you know, you've seen that like Pebble half twist case.
Yeah.
And like, when they showed them to me, like, well, first of all, this isn't really what you showed me.
Oh man.
And they're just another label swap on something that's a generic Amazon Banggood thing. So like, politely, I haven't even put them in my ears. I have to send these back to you because there's not anything really nice I can say about them. It's like these things hurt my ear just trying to like push the play pause button because they're so crap.
Oh yeah. No, I've been
So
down that road so many times. I'm like, dude, what?
come on. And because again, I'm not above like slumming it. Like I've KZ has always been like a really happy find for me to talk about like $20 to $40 headphones that
Yeah,
sound really, really good.
yeah.
But I would love to catch your thoughts later after the show. So I have an album. I have this love-hate affair with the group OK Go.
Hmm.
They did the treadmill music video
Oh
and
yeah.
all of their other wacky music videos, but they came out with an album that's very Prince, Morris Day in the Time kind of funk inspired pop, called Of the Blue Color of the Sky, and it is horrifically loud for pop music.
Oh, okay.
And so you get into a track like WTF off of that album, and if you don't have some great hardware and a good in your earbuds, the highs are piercing,
Oh man.
very uncomfortable for me. The bass will just get muddy and floppy as opposed to having like a really crunchy distortion apply. It's just going to be it's just going to flop all over you. And so
Oh,
that to me is like the opposite. Like if a song like Killing in the Name of is going to sound good on almost anything, it takes like something special, not something expensive, but it takes something special to make WTF sound good and
right.
actually like land everything that's going on in that song.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying on that one, man. Some of them, I think I've run across a few tracks. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then I just sort of just put them out of my mind because I don't know, but I should have kept them. I'm probably going to go back and look for a few of those that really put things to the test and kind of go from there. Because yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Got to
Well,
test both ends.
because I also went through that with I don't know, you ever heard Girl? Do you ever listen to Girl Talk?
No.
Mashup artist. Like literally takes like two songs. Like you'll have a guitar riff from The Clash under Missy Elliott, and then just
Oh, okay,
smash them
cool.
together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really fun. I mean, again, totally disposable cotton candy. I actually went to a Girl Talk concert where it's just some skinny dude behind a laptop. I mean, it
Yeah, of
was like
course.
one of those types of hilarious like setups. But you can get one of his albums for free in FLAC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And again, it's not that it's to sit and really enjoy, because any musical theme lasts for maybe a phrase of the song. Like he
Right.
might not even finish the chorus before he's mashing up two other completely separate musical genres. And then you'll listen to that for about 5 seconds, and then he'll mash up something else. So it becomes like this is the perfect way to torture test a
Yeah.
pair of headphones, because
Yeah.
like you're going to go through so many musical genres, you're going to go through so many different mixes, so many ideas are going to be smashing together, and then you're going to end up with this at the end. And like again, for all of it to land takes something a little special. Like it's going to light me up if I can make it through an entire 50-minute mix of Girl Talk and like,
Oh
oh,
man.
you know what? I didn't have any moments where something hurt, and I
Yeah.
didn't have any moments where something sounded floppy. These are okay. These are on my list now of like, this is a good headphone to
Nice.
recommend without too many compromises.
Oh, it sounds like fun.
I mean, I'll kick you. I'll put a link down in the show notes in the description of this video.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Aditya Anil in the live chat. Once you go FLAC, you never go back.
Nice.
I went
Yeah,
through and it was just like, I want more stuff in archival quality, and my phones have enough storage now that
yeah,
like,
dude. Why
why
not, right?
not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point,
Es-
why not?
Especially while we still have like a few devices left that are hooking us up with like SD card support. I'll
Yeah.
just pack a 64 gig card. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, totally, man. That's literally what I'll do with mine. When I'm on the Galaxy. With the iPhone, obviously it's not an option. But yeah. So
Well, so I wanted to kind of pick your brain about that a little bit. When you're testing out headphones, is it mainly those two devices that you're listening to, or do you have any fallbacks? Like, do you have anything that's plugged into a PC, or do you have like a DAP that you might try and compare and contrast?
Well, no, it's mostly if it's Bluetooth stuff, then I'll run them through the iPhone and through the Galaxy. If there's an option to wire them, then I'll wire them to both of those as well. And then aside from that, I'll run them through the small tube amp if they have a wired option.
Nice.
But there's been a few Bluetooth headphones that have they have a headphone jack and you'll plug them in and it'll like sound worse. I'm like, what the heck? So
Well,
like,
it's
yeah,
kind of an unknown, right?
yeah, it's just weird. So if that comes
That
up, I do mention it. So,
that's one of those things where it's like, you get this really awesome pair of wireless headphones. You would expect some consistency plugging in a cable, but it's kind of hard to know the permutations of, well, maybe it's just like the amp on your phone really isn't gonna drive
right,
what these headphones can do when they're powered under their own power. Because often like that sort of separates the headphones from their own built-in amp when you
right,
go over a cable. And that's always one of those things too, where like I really want to get back into reviewing headphones again because I feel like those are some of the conversations that people start to miss out on
yeah,
when we take sort of the wireless side for granted.
yeah.
Um, have you run into any issues? So like you're going you said that you have a Galaxy S9? Is that what you said you were
Oh
running?
no, I'm actually using an S8 Plus
An
and
S8 Plus.
iPhone 10s. Yeah,
So when you're going Bluetooth, have you noticed any disparity between iPhone support for AAC compression versus Android now on newer, not obviously not on AirPods, but on other newer, nicer Bluetooth solutions starting to incorporate aptX and LDAC?
yeah. It's kind of a surprise, and it's also one of the reasons why sometimes when I test with the iPhone versus the Galaxy, it sounds better on the Android stuff. Which I'm like, there was I think there was one time where I was fully using the iPhone and I was reviewing a set of headphones and it skipped my mind to use the Galaxy. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, you know what? These just aren't impressing me and this not impressing me and what's going on. And I'm sort of thinking about it during the day and then it kind of hits me like I got smacked in the head. Like, did I try these with the Galaxy? And they're like, let me try them with the
Wait
Galaxy.
a
And
minute.
sure enough, they came to life. I'm like, what in the actual heck? So yeah, it's some people would say they don't hear the difference. I can definitely hear the difference, but not only that, they're also slightly louder. It's like you have more volume headroom, which is really,
Mhm.
really weird. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So the Galaxy, I leave it on scalable codec, so it just kind of does its thing.
Yeah.
Usually when I'll have a set of headphones on. If they say that they're aptX or whatever, I'll usually open up the developer options to see what it's actually doing. And but yeah, I mean, I think that there is a bit of a disparity between them, between what iOS can do for audio and what Android's doing, and kind of doesn't. I don't understand. I just kind of iOS does so many things so well, but I don't know why audio isn't it. So
It's been a little bit of a frustration for me because I would say I'm probably experiencing the same thing because none of my audio is archived in Apple Lossless.
yeah,
So, especially like if my music were AAC and I were using sort of Apple approved wireless solutions, then it would be a direct AAC path through. And I think that would sound pretty good.
yeah,
A 256K rip in AAC does very well competing against slightly higher bit rate MP3s. Um, but because I tend to store everything in FLAC and I force myself to do extra MP3 rips when I want to listen on an iPhone,
hmm,
because it's an MP3 and I want that broad compatibility, it's going through a second generation of transcoding.
right,
So it's getting kind of recompressed again at the time of service, at the time of playthrough. And I'm starting to have a harder time with that as a compromise in iOS when Apple was one of the companies largely responsible for getting me excited about portable digital audio players,
right.
iPod classics with great amps and DACs.
Oh, those are so good.
Again, a very, I mean, classic, the iPod
Yeah,
classic.
yeah, the
They're
original,
classic.
the brick. Don't throw that at
um,
somebody's head, man.
so for me to like turn around and again like another reason why it was probably a good thing that I didn't do an unboxing video, to turn around, pick up an iPhone 10s and then not even have a headphone adapter in the box.
Yeah.
Like, it's $1,000 phone, and I still have to buy a dongle
Yep.
to plug in some headphones. Just felt like it seems like every generation Apple finds another way to take a step away from the things that I care about.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for me having been like this huge Apple acolyte back in the day, it's just like I promise people like I'm cranky and I'm bringing up these criticisms, but it's not because I hate Apple. It's because Apple seems to hate me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weirdness about that too, man, because you can use a dongle, you can listen to music and stuff, and but it's really strange because I was doing for the longest time, I was doing all mobile video production. And when Jonathan was so kind to give me this phone, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to the Apple store. I'm going to pick up a dongle and I'll be able to run my microphone through it, my lav mic, and then I'll start using the iPhone XS full time. 3 lav mics, 3 Apple dongles, and an off brand one. And I kept getting the volume of the audio was through the roof with a crazy hiss.
Yeah.
But through the S8, I just plug the lav mic right into it, no problem. So I was like, this is not going to work. That's the only reason I never switched over to the iPhone XS full time for my video stuff, because I couldn't get the audio solution working. I just don't understand what happened. People do it all the time; it works for them, but I didn't want to spend upwards of $150 for a Lightning microphone. So
It's a bit much. I
yeah,
mean, it used to. It's always been a little tricky, but back in the day, uh, I used to be very envious of the USB audio solutions for iOS. Um, excuse me, you could pick up like a $20 USB Lightning connector to USB female, and
mhm,
then you could plug in anything. And that's still technically true, but it's gotten trickier. And then also you don't have the backup of being able to like monitor through the phone because you can't have something connected to the Lightning and have your headphones plugged in. You're
right.
definitely not going to do something like that over Bluetooth. Again, that was one of those situations where it's like, man, even for the things that I used to covet from the iPhone when I already wasn't using the iPhone, Apple still felt like, well, got to walk away from you too.
Yeah, yeah. What are we gonna do, right?
I mean, it's just like again, it makes me feel like I'm sort of wrapping up a long term review on the Apple Watch, and I really like what the Apple Watch does, but it's like it's just going to sound real crappy, and it's going to piss a lot of people off. But it makes me I like wearing the Apple Watch because it means I have to interact with the iPhone less. Like for all the things that are like just little irritants about what should be one of the nicest phone experiences on the market today, and you're like, but I can just go through my watch, right?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I'll
yeah,
just do that.
yeah. Wearing I picked up a TicWatch E for like under $100 months
Mm,
ago. And the main reason for it is because I'm getting notifications all day from all over the place.
yeah.
And I'm in some sketchy neighborhoods in San Francisco, and I don't want to be pulling out my phone left and right. So it just made more sense. So for me, it actually makes sense. Unfortunately, when I tried to pair it to the iPhone, it was absolutely terrible.
Mm.
So now that I put the SIM back in the Galaxy, I'm able to use it again, and I'm like, oh man, I totally missed this. And unfortunately, I was never able to get that Apple Watch. I really wanted one, but I was never able to get it. So
Well,
just
that's okay. I mean, because I mean, really, if your bread and butter is audio reviews, like, you might just need to stick with the Samsung.
yep.
So, although we should also chat because like, have you spent any time on an LG?
Unfortunately, no. The last LG phone I had was years back. I think it was on a LG Aristo or something. It was just Metro,
Oh
$100.
no, that
Yeah,
doesn't count.
yeah. So it wasn't like a G or like any of the V series stuff. It was it was their bottom stuff. So
Yeah, I need to see if I can get your ears into one of the quad DACs at least.
oh
So
no, I have
something
heard that
B20 up.
with headphones. Yeah, had a chance to actually listen to them, and it's excellent. I don't understand why other phones, especially high end phones, don't do the same thing. I just don't get it. So
I mean, like to that point, I'd be fine because like Samsung audio is good. Because I
yeah.
mean, again, on the S8, Samsung finally started incorporating the improvements that Qualcomm had made.
Mhm.
So like clarity and quality got way better and the amp got a little punchier. I still think like of that era, the OnePlus 5 is still the second tier You know, you have like your LG V series, then you had your OnePlus 5, and then you had Samsung nipping at the heels of what OnePlus was doing with their amp. But I mean, like, top three, that's exciting. You know, like Samsung went from being one of the worst options in headphone audio to being one of the best in literally 2 generations of phones, which is
Nice.
phenomenal. Um, but yeah, I just being able to drive crazy high impedance cans, it's criminal that, you know, I'd give plenty of other companies a pass because, you know, like, it's not that Samsung's good enough. Samsung's really good.
Yeah.
It's LG's fault for never having put out a commercial that they are the best,
Yeah.
right?
Marketing is
Yeah.
always an issue with those guys.
Huge problems, like tremendous. It's like I can sit there and sing their praises from the rooftops on my little YouTube channel. They need to be the ones leading that discussion because, like, they've completely let that market go. And now, like, you know, consumers are sort of comfortable, frustratingly comfortable with the notion of losing audio hardware on their phones. And LG is still offering, like, legitimately, objectively the best,
Yep.
but no one knows.
Yeah. Who would know it? So yeah, you ask anybody, you know, what phone they're getting, they're gonna give you normally one of two brands. So
Right? It was at 85% of the market in North America.
yeah. So yeah, there's so many options out there. And yeah, the LG, I did have a chance to listen to them and I was highly impressed. And it just kind of made me mad. I'm like, why aren't these other companies doing this? Like, why? I don't know if it's a battery life thing or if it's a packaging thing or what the deal is, but man, it would have been, yeah. It's just one of those.
And again, I'd love to see anyone else competing. Like, I'd love to see someone maybe do you know, Asus with the ROG phone,
Mhm.
do some sort of limited partnership with Creative. You know, like, we're going to
Yeah.
build one of those Sound Blaster chips in here. So it's not necessarily about music, but like, we've got 3D spatial audio happening for gaming on your phone.
Oh yeah, that'd
And
be
like,
excellent.
I really wish that more mobile manufacturers were taking our ears as seriously as they take, you know, camera hardware or display tech.
Yeah. It seems that those are the two biggest things that they're concentrating on, and sometimes the other stuff gets kind of left by the wayside, which kind of sucks. But yeah, at least now they're finally catching up. We're starting to get more wide angle lenses, which LG's been doing forever. So
Well, I mean,
catching up.
listening, just like reading some of the headlines and articles, it's like, what Samsung, I mean, LG started doing it. Huawei picked up on it, you know,
Mhm.
pretty aggressively last year, but now it's a real thing
Yeah,
that Samsung
all of a
did
sudden.
it.
Oh,
And you're like, oh,
wait till the iPhone does it.
oh, geez. They'll have invented wide angle lenses when Apple does it. So, okay, I want to get back on just sort of the anatomy of a headphone review.
Yeah,
Talk me through some of the other, like, because you say you've got like sort of broad musical tastes, and I kind of like, I feel like I'm sort of right in there with you where
yeah.
there are a number of genres that I try and tackle with very specific songs. Um, like, let's say you wanted to test out something a bit more natural, you know, like maybe even a live recording. What would you maybe point towards for something like jazz or classical?
For I think for classical, if anything, it would be something like usually it's going to be like Beethoven, something like that.
Hmm.
Um, there's some string quartet stuff. I think it's Hayden. I'm trying to remember the full name, but it's Hayden. I think it's string quartet number 31 that I keep on my
Mm,
playlist, and it's excellent. The Beethoven one is the Sonata in A major. That one's really good for that sort of thing. Uh,
hmm.
there are some acoustic tracks that I also listen to as well that are, you know, just like acoustic guitar recordings and stuff. So just to kind of get an idea of what they can do or what different types of instruments, you know, which sound better.
Yeah.
But the other big one I think that I usually do most of that with is usually Latin music. Is all, you know, there's a lot
Yeah.
of live recordings of old salsa and old cumbia
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's
And the
yeah,
second it's not legit until I hear like a
yeah,
right before it kicks on.
yeah,
Like, I need that tape hiss. Like, oh, okay, this is gonna be good.
yeah, this is the real deal. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of that that goes on. So there's a lot of keep a full Latin playlist as well. Just to the way that the instruments and everything, the way it rounds out the sound is like it's such a full audio experience so that you can't get from certain other genres. Other genres have other ways that they shine, but there's something in um, like the Latin and cumbia, or even listen to like reggae or ska or like
Yeah.
Sublime and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
Okay. 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 Because I was a rude boy. I was
yeah,
a rude boy fierce in high school.
yeah. So yeah, it's a
What ska are we picking up on? Were you more like Desmond Decker? Were you all about that Brit second wave explosion with the Specials and Elvis Costello? Did
yeah.
you come into it third wave? You know, like Let's Go Bowling. Where did you
Oh no,
land?
it was mostly just I really couldn't I wouldn't be able to I didn't get that deep into it that way. It was more what my friends were listening to
Oh
at the
no,
time.
I'm putting you on the spot. Don't be a
Yeah,
poser, man.
yeah, no, it was sort of that route, but it was yeah, it was just stuff like that. It was a lot of we listened to like more just like along the lines of Sublime in that genre of the early '90s.
Oh,
Like
especially like
Real
that
Fun.
kind of like West Coast almost dub.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of what it
yeah.
was more like. Yeah, it was stuff like that. The old school. I don't know what the mix was, man, because it's like punk and like ska, and like it was such a really really odd mix that we had on the West Coast back then, but it was that sort of thing.
Because like you had Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and they were trying to
Mhm.
go for a little bit more of that angry Irish punk
Yeah,
sound and really rough, but still calling it ska and still throwing the checkerboards. And then it seemed like there was a whole bunch of like Real Big Fish game show themes.
yeah,
And you're like that. I mean, this could be in front of like a supermarket rush show,
right.
or it could be like the background on a Benny Hill. So,
No,
but there's like no soul here.
yeah, not at all. But yeah, no, stuff like that. That's really where I don't know. I think that's where a lot of that stuff really shines. It's fun to listen to, so and it takes me back as well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, like, I don't think anyone's really. I, I mean, because again, I like being torn on things. Like, I can't just have like a clear opinion on
Yeah,
stuff. Like, I'd love for sort of a modern ska act to really kind of creep up and become sort of popular again. But then also, it's like, like maybe that just needs to be a time capsule for a while. It can be
yeah,
a perfect time capsule of like 60s jazz instrumentation hitting Mento, like on the
yeah,
islands, be a time capsule of the late 70s, early 80s, and then sort of a time capsule of the early 90s. And that's fine. It doesn't need to be brought back.
yeah. Some of
It
that
can
stuff
just
you
leave it
can't
there.
like even now in modern age, like we can't bring it back. And it was even like I have conversations with friends who want to bring back like the West Coast G funk hip hop from the early '90s, and I'm like, that's not possible. It's
It,
not possible. So not in this day and age.
it's like
So
the English language has changed too
yes,
much since
yeah,
then.
and it's just different, and it was a different time, and we just can't. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things, man. But maybe that's because I grew up in the '80s and '90s, and it's just we have the affinity for it. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's going to be my nostalgia. That's how you're going to sell me like a Volkswagen Bug when I'm 60. I'm gonna bring back like Sublime or Nirvana or something and just slap it on a commercial. I'll be like, that seems like a sensible vehicle for me to drive around and get my groceries in.
that's right. See them everywhere out here, man.
So just kind of tracking back. I mean, so when you were describing some of those for like for jazz and cumbia
Mhm.
and Latin music, it seemed to me like I get very easily overloaded when I try and catch like big band jazz. Like I love
Oh
me
yeah,
some Benny Goodman, but it's tough for me to stay focused. Like I find myself like checking out. Like
yeah,
it's so much going on in those big band recordings. And same thing with like a full symphony.
right.
For me, if it's not a piano concerto, then I'm very easily distracted. And it's also why I don't do a lot of testing with movies is because I find like, oh, I'm just watching the movie. I'm not really critically listening. Like I just missed all of that action sequence. I wonder if it even sounded good.
Yeah, right. You get caught up, man. You get caught up in that stuff.
So
So
I mean, is that why you've picked some of those, like like a little jazz set, a little cumbia? Like
mhm.
that's not crazy instrumentation. It's usually a pretty small.
Yeah, yeah, just to kind of keep things. I don't know. It sort of keeps things tight, and you can sort of focus. You can pick up different sounds of the different instruments, and I think that helps a lot. Um, but yeah, I don't think. I'm trying to think what I do. I don't do a lot on the jazz side. I mean, I'll do a lot of like R&B and like Motown and things like that for a different
Oh,
vibe.
right on.
Because there's way that I don't know the science or the technical stuff behind it, but it seems like the stuff that was recorded in the 50s and 60s and the early 70s has a whole different vibe to it and a whole different feel.
Yeah.
And it sounds so much better when I plug it through my tube amp that it really comes alive. And I really like the way that genre of stuff sounds. And that's probably the most exciting portion. It's like the headphones have to graduate through the basic stuff, and if it
Right.
gets through that stuff okay, then it's worth taking to the next level. Then I'll take it to the next level and plug them in and fire up the whole Motown playlist and kind of go through that and um, get into the Latin music and stuff. And it really, dude, that's probably the best part. That's when I'm really enjoying it.
Now,
Um,
remind me what tube amp, the headphone amp are you
oh,
rocking?
So it's funny because I had no idea what to get or what to buy, and I wasn't planning on buying one. And one of my subscribers was like, "Hey, dude, shoot me your address. I want to send you something." I'm like, "Okay, sure, yeah, man. Just as long as it's not ticking, it's all good." And he sent me over this. It's an SMSL T2, so it's like a $50 small little tube amp, and and it freaking rocks. I love it, man. So yeah, it gets the job done. You have to let it warm up for 30 seconds, and after that, it's on like Donkey Kong. So, yeah, I like it, man. So far, it's been really, really good. I use it with like in-ear monitors, and I'll use it with headphones, and yeah, so it's pretty cool.
No, that makes me really happy to hear because when I was doing mostly like spoken word recording, I was again audio snob. They were just like, if I want this type of recording or this type of narration, it's like I need this tube mic on this type of Avalon mic pre with this type of compressor, and like it all needed to be. It's like when you say like, "Hey, man, I don't know what's going on, but like I'm listening to Motown," and for me, it's also like classic late 50s, early 60s rock and roll,
Mhm.
where it was like recorded on beat up old ribbon mics, and you can
Yeah,
hear that tape saturation. And it's like the last step in the chain is bringing that recording back home on the type of warm, and I hate that word warm usually, but that's what a tube does. Is it's
yeah,
just warmth, literally and figuratively, it's
yeah,
warm. But it's like Motown has to be brought back to that last step in the chain where we're applying a very subtle type of audio distortion in the most pleasant way possible.
right.
And like, and you're right. It's like late 70s, early 80s. Nope. Solid state. Go solid state. And that's like when we were getting into that fascination of like multi-track and digital recording and overdubbing and sampling, and like that should sound electronic. No, aha, like Take on Me.
Yeah,
Like that's not gonna be improved by throwing it through vintagey style distorting tubes. That's gonna sound better when you just sort of like, yeah, I'm gonna plug this directly into like the digital interface on my sound card.
yeah. No, that's really where it shines. I know I've had a few, true audiophiles that are subscribers on my channel and stuff who've kind of helped me out with this sort of thing, and um, they've already got the recommendations like for the like oh yeah, for hip hop and EDM and that sort of stuff. Here's a different like digital audio, I forgot what they call it, DAC amp that they've
Yeah.
recommended for me. They're like, here, this is what you should look at when you're going to buy one. This is one you want to buy to start out with, for that stuff. So like even those dudes are like, there's a different tool for a different music. And
Right
they're
tool for the right job, right?
yeah, so they're like, yeah, you're gonna like the dude who sent me this. He's like, yeah, you're gonna love this because you told me you love Motown and you love this sort of stuff. This is gonna sound great, but if you try to put hip hop and different things like that through it, you're not gonna like it. And I'm like, well, all right. So, and I mean, I tried it, and they were sort of right in a sense because it makes it louder, but it kind of doesn't. It doesn't help it in any way, not the way that it helps the older music. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, again, I like that perspective. I have a hard time just because I came from such a practical background. So I mean, like, I'm very sensitive to mids, where I really like it when the frequencies around, sort of low female vocals to sort of mid alto male
Yeah.
voices are sort of best supported.
Yeah.
Because I've spent, yeah, man, I've spent almost 20 years recording human speech.
Yeah.
So like that's my superpower, is listening for the frequencies of sound around human speech.
Nice. Yeah.
Sorry, I just sort of, you ever have that moment where you're like, oh my God, I'm old. You just have like like a flood of years. Like, have I been wasting my life? I
Well,
don't know. I
happens
like
all
what I'm doing right now. Okay, that's not part of this podcast.
happens all the time, man. My friends' kids are all, about to be 18 years old. So it's like,
Oh man.
I'm like, holy crap. All right. Yeah. This is
Oh, my
real.
daughter's 3 and it's already going by too fast.
Yeah.
Um so sorry, I completely sidetracked and lost my chain of thought there, but there was a question I was gonna ask you about that. Um uh just let's table that, because I can't remember where I was coming at that from.
No problem, dude.
But I have you looked into any other sort of comparative? We were saying using the right tool for the right job. Obviously, Emily, and like if you're getting a nicer pair of studio cans, you need that extra oomph. I mean, I
Right.
was kind of, maybe this is kind of where I was coming at it, is like, have you looked at standalone players? And then also, do you use like a specific pair of headphones as like a palette cleanser? Because
Oh,
for me, I keep falling back on my Seni 599s, not
mhm.
because I think they're the best, and they're far from the best,
Right.
but they've got a very understandable sound that a lot of people with open backs have sort of, like, you kind of know what those plastic Sennheisers are going to do. And
Right.
so that for me has been the really easy way to like make sure my ear hasn't become so acclimated to the headphones that I'm listening to that I can't hear the nuance.
Oh yeah. No, totally. It's for me it's either the M50s or the Sonys, the 700s. So it's
Hmm.
either of those two that I know. I spend so much time with them that I know
You know
what
what they do?
to sound like. Yeah. So I have a good reference. And normally, I mean, obviously I do the initial impressions like at work when I get the packages in or whatnot. But before I even start, I'll at least listen to 2 or 3 songs on them first, just to get an idea, and then I'll go ahead and switch over to whatever headphones I'm testing. So it's sort of like having a baseline of, okay, this is what it's supposed to listen to on what I like. So let's
Hmm.
hear what it is on this, and then I sort of base it from there. So
So I mean, and along with that, this to me has been a really interesting question that's kind of popped up on a number of my videos too. Um, I would consider myself a music purist in that I try not to mess with EQ.
yeah,
Like,
right,
I come from that philosophy of the correct EQ is listening to what the mastering on that is without artificially changing that. And someone brought up like, well, we have this whole generation, like I think was it B&O or Bear Dynamic? It might have been, I can't remember. But anyway, a number of these headphones where like HTC did something similar to this. You pop in their HTC earbuds, they do like a scan of your ear, and then they automatically graph frequency responses for the frequencies you hear well and you don't hear well, and then
hmm.
it applies that filter to your music. So what are your thoughts on something like that? Like, do you think that, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and I'm going to tweak those frequencies for where I want them, or do you try and stay out of the way of what the music files are supposed to represent?
No, I sort of just stay out of the way of them. Like if you check the EQs on like my Spotify, on any of my devices, any of that stuff, or whatever I'm listening to it on, it's all right at neutral. It's all at whatever it is standard. I sort of don't mess with that, especially for testing. I'll leave it right as it is because I know what those tracks are supposed to sound like and what it's supposed to sound like on that device. So I'll sort of leave it alone. The only time I'll mess with EQs is like in my car. I'll sort of, because the speakers in my car suck. So I'll sort of adjust
Right.
for that sort of thing. But beyond that, no, I'll sort of leave it alone. That's sort of like what you're talking about reminds me of what uh, the people always tell me. Oh yeah, you need to try out those neurophones because they have like they go inside your ear like an earbud, but they also surround your ear like with the over
Yeah.
ear thing, and then they map out the way you listen. I haven't tried them, but people have told me that they're really good. But I've never tried anything quite like that. So
Yeah.
I
We
really,
actually had someone in the live chat asking, I think it was Bangarang.
yeah,
And I actually typed a response, but he was just like, I wonder what these guys are listening to in their cars. And like in LA traffic, it's almost always podcasts or audiobooks, so I
Yeah,
can try and find my
same,
serenity now.
same.
So, I spent a little extra on that Nissan Sentra in-dash entertainment unit with the Bose
Right.
branded speakers on them.
Yeah,
They're not
no,
audio
no.
filed.
There was
I'm
a
not.
like when I bought my car, there was a JBL upgrade option, and I heard it in one of our upper end models, and I was like, nope, just give me the regular. And it had a
you know,
sub, so that was nice, but it was like, I'm
but
not
is it? I
listening.
mean, again, it's like it's like again, if you're just throwing hardware at it with no consideration, it's
Right.
worse because
Yeah,
then it's like I also spent more money on worse.
yeah. And then by the time that I bought this car, I had already been doing this job for 3.5 years. So I understood 90% of my commute. So I spent a total of around it's an hour and a half each way. So in dead stop traffic. So if I'm normally listening to either one news radio, podcast, or audiobooks, which is spoken word,
Yeah.
why do I need a subwoofer? Why, it's there's no
Well, and you don't.
yeah,
You don't want a subwoofer for spoken word. I mean, you
yeah,
don't want a boomy, echoey, untuned, low frequency representation of human speech unless like you're only listening to James Earl Jones.
yeah,
Like, and you
exactly.
want the proper low frequency rasp, and even then, his voice is deep, but it don't get that deep.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it came down to. Once I realized that, I was like, I'm spending most of my time listening to podcasts and audiobooks, and why am I going to bother? It's just not worth it. So yeah,
Yeah.
the traffic is murder. You know it just as well as I do down there. It's bad up here. It's freaking unbelievable. And audiobooks and podcasts have literally saved my sanity.
Oh,
So
totally.
yeah,
Well, and again, because I was trying to do like a like talk radio and stuff, and you're like, man, this is just making me angrier while I'm sitting in traffic. But
yeah.
we have that comment too from Miyobi. How are you not tired of that California traffic
Oh no, I
coming
am.
from an LA native? And you're like, we are
Yeah, don't get it wrong.
totally. Oh, I mean, like if I had job opportunities like I do in LA and around the entertainment industry, if I could get that in like Topeka,
Oh, dude, yeah,
I'd go.
yeah,
Nothing against Topeka. It's not that. It's my industry doesn't exist there. So I wouldn't that would
yeah.
be bad.
For
So
what I do, yeah, same thing. It only exists in major metropolitan areas. So.
and in a select few, it's even like I Toronto looks nice. I don't know what I would do there. Um So it sounds to me like you seem to err a little bit more like some of the things that you really try and pick out, things like low frequency and some
Mhm.
of the bassier aspects of music. Would you say that's kind of where your preferred like if you were looking at a frequency response for a pair of headphones that were going to be your merch, is that kind of where you'd want to start tuning them is kind of from the ground up?
Yeah, most likely that would probably where I would go. If I had to, yeah, it
Like
would
so like let's play that game. You're building a pair of headphones. Do you go in-ears? Do you go cans? Do you go circumaural? What would you want to make if you were going to slap your brand
oh
on
yeah,
a pair of audio
it'd
kit?
be over ear headphones for sure. Yeah,
Proper
just over.
cans?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would be over ear headphones completely. That's to me. I mean, everybody has their own opinion on it, but to me, it's the most comfortable. I can wear them for the longest periods of time with little fatigue. And to me, they sound the best. Very, very closely matched sometimes by certain in-ear monitors. But I can't wear in-ear monitors as long as I can wear these. So that's personally, I can't. So I can go for a good couple of hours, but I can literally wear these all day long from sun up to sundown, and it won't be an issue. So but yeah, that's what it would be. It would have to be over your headphones, and I would probably, if it was something that I'm just gonna sort of sell, I don't know. I think I would have to do it in flavors, man, because I don't think I could sell just like here's one headphone. It sounds exactly like Beats Audio, and here you go, El Jefe. And I couldn't do that to people. I'd be like, listen, here's for my bass guys, and here's for my clinical flat lovers, and here's for the people that like vocals and rock and stuff. Just something. I would have to do it in flavors. I couldn't just do one as here. This solves all your problems.
So, but which one would you come out with first?
Oh,
What's your baby? Because that's the first. I mean, like the one that you're gonna launch with.
Oh,
'Cause
probably something V shape, I would say, or like W shape, something like
okay.
that. Something fun, something that can be punchy for people when they want to work out or enjoy their EDM or hip hop or whatever. So it would be something like that, most likely.
Hasn't it been interesting watching that come back? Because I felt like it for a while there, it was just smiley face,
Yeah,
right? Smiley face EQ was like ruling with beats. You're just gonna like sparkle and we're gonna give you bass, and then we're
that's
just
it.
gonna kind of flatten out in the middle, and that's great. And now it seems like between 3 and 5K, deep V. So
Yeah,
like you've got like a bunch of presency peaky stuff and for the sparkle in the air, and you've got usually a lot of shape happening through the low mids, and
hmm
then you get to like this like one narrow band, and you're like, well, let's just slice this out like a pizza cutter.
yeah, right. But I think that's what they're calling them, right? W or something. I've heard that come up a few times.
Well, W's typically, in from what I understood, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong here. W's was again a little bit more manipulation with like the mids, so
Yeah,
it wasn't just that deep V cut. But like when
right.
you brought up the KZAS10, I mean, if you look at like some of the testing on those and some of the people that have done their own frequency maps,
hmm
it does almost look like just one sliver is just removed
Yeah, like what they do
from
there.
the EQ. I mean, it's like with a very odd precision to me because again, I kind of got used to consumer headphones that are going to sound sparkly and bassy are going to be smiley face,
Yeah,
not with such a very specific purpose at eliminating a
yeah,
part of the frequency response like deep V.
yeah,
W's, I think it's like again, there are similar ideas where you've got cuts,
yeah.
but it's not as extreme
Right.
as what happens on that.
Yeah, I think that's what it would be. I mean, I know that the deep V is really tough. That's I think what I forgot there was one headphone that I heard that it was deep V. I'm losing my mind on it. It was super bassy and super highs, treble. It was literally bass treble. There was no mid range. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like what? But it was perfect for like house music and stuff like it was
Right.
perfection for that. But because there's no mid range. So if you listen to something with instrument, it was like, get this off my head.
Well, and again, I mean, like that's the thing. It's like really trying to express, if I want to listen to something that's more classically recorded or open air recordings, like I've got these beautiful Bach piano concertos,
Mm.
and miking a grand piano is an insane challenge. And the
Oh
the
man.
thing that I found this last year, excuse me, I just burped again, and it's gross. Um, the piano concertos that I just found last year, again, delivered in like 24-bit 96K FLAC for free.
Oh man.
Um, and Kimiko Mia, I can't remember her last name, but again, if you look up like the JS Bach variations, you'll find it. You look up free FLAC, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly challenging to capture that. And so when I get, an audio solution that really gives me the sense of like I'm standing in a room with an amazingly accomplished pianist in a grand piano,
Mhm.
those solutions typically don't do it for me when I want to fire up Girl Talk or OK Go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
again, like I want to bump something with a little heavier if I want to listen to some pop. It's like oh, those are very conflicting
Yeah.
audio experiences.
Yeah. No, that's the big trouble with the fact with the channel and stuff and how I've niched into audio stuff is I think people have noticed that I answer people's questions. Like I respond to literally everyone and I'm doing it while I can
Yeah.
because there's going to be a point where it's going to be impossible. It already takes a good portion of my day doing it as it is. So, but that's the biggest question is like it comes up that people don't think of it as deeply as we do. And I don't think of it, and even to take it to another level, I don't even think of it as deeply as you do. So, but there's people who will just ask me just flat out, like, "Oh yeah, yeah, well, what's the best headphone for me under $100?" I'm like, "Dude, we have to be more specific because I can't.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that." And then I kind of lose people when I'll talk to them about it. They're like, "Oh, well, I don't know, man."
Well, and it's like I try and use a metaphor, and I just come across like looking like a dick. Like,
Yeah,
well, LFA, tell me what car I should buy.
yeah, right.
And they're like, I don't know,
That's the,
Honda. Oh, I'm sorry, I needed a 4x4.
yeah,
Didn't you know that I needed a big heavy duty truck? Why didn't you recommend the truck to me? Why are you giving me terrible advice?
yeah,
And then like, okay, I actually am being kind of a dick.
yeah. Sometimes I mean, I'll have people argue with me too and stuff. Like I'll make a recommendation and then they'll argue with me about the recommendation. I'm like, why are you asking me, man? I'm trying to help you, man. I'm trying to help you. You gotta tell me.
Well, but again, I like this is why I mean, like, and absolutely one of the reasons why I wanted to have you for this conversation is like, it's like if people didn't know that I was hypersensitive to the human speech mid range, and they didn't know that you were a bit more focused on sort of building up the foundation on a good pair of skull rumblers. Like, imagine if someone came to us for headphone recommendations, like we would probably have different solutions based on that. Not being able to filter that through like what you would know about us
Right.
instantly, like sort of colors or taints that as a recommendation. And like you, I mean, one of the main reasons why I got into this is because I like being a problem solver and
Right.
I like joining a conversation. But it's like on a conversation by conversation basis with like literally every person that would leave a comment, like I'm not going to sit here and break down my whole philosophy of listening comment by comment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's your time is valuable too, man. And it's a tough conversation to have with people because I'll tell them sometimes, like, listen, what I like, you may not like. So, it really comes down to that's normally why that's sort of what I've started trying to do is I'll ask people, what are you mostly listening to? What do you mostly listen to? Give me an idea. That way I can listen to them and that'll give me an idea of what you're trying to hear. And I can try to make a more educated, recommendation, but it's tough sometimes, man. We try, but
Well,
yeah.
and also, I mean, it's like why I approach and like why I enjoy your reviews too. You got to have a real conversation about these things.
Yeah.
It can't be. I mean, you've clued me into a bunch of other reviewers that I think are doing some really good work too. Like, I don't think I would have found GameSky.
Oh yeah, Keith. Oh man, that dude.
I don't think I would have found that channel, or I would have been like tapped into that channel had it not been sort of on your word.
Yeah,
Like we just had like a back and forth on Twitter.
yeah,
And again, like he probably doesn't agree with me on what he likes,
yeah.
right? But I get a very clear sense that when I go into one of his headphone reviews that we're going to have a conversation. It's not just going to be, are they better or worse than some predetermined winner?
Mhm.
Are they worth it or not worth it? Is it binary? Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. And here's my awesome YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah.
And like, and like if I'm really if I still hold in my heart and I still believe that like a part of this can be infotainment, a part of this can be entertainment, but a
Yeah.
part of this can also still be education. Like there might be someone out there who really does want to learn something out of
Oh,
one of these videos.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that dude's cool, man. We collabed on the Eco in your monitor.
Yeah,
So sad that one
and,
didn't do as good as I wanted it to, but I was just
you
really
know,
happy to get him on the
but
channel.
again, it's like, and you guys beat me to the punch. Like I think you were probably wrapping that video up just as I was breaking in
Oh, okay,
my
yeah.
OH ones, and like I saw your guys' video, and I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of what I'm gonna say about these two.
Yeah, he beat me to it. I mean, his came out probably a good week and a half before I did mine. So, but that was one of the reasons. Once I saw his, and I was like, "Wait, are these the same ones?" So I hit him up, and I was like, "Hey, dude, can you shoot me a minute of what you think?" And he was like, "Yeah, done. I got you, man." So yeah, he's super cool, dude, man. He's super laid back too, and we actually have um very similar taste in the type of headphones that we like. So it's been almost like very consistent across the board of the reviews he's done of headphones that I've tried, and
Mhm.
it's like literally like I'll agree like 99% of the time. So we have a very similar taste as far as our headphones go. So it's pretty cool.
So I'll just invite myself into one of your videos next and be like, well, here's why you're wrong, and voiceover recording
Yeah.
and spoken word, and
Oh,
that's why you guys have forgotten to remember audiobooks, and
right.
then everyone on your channel will make fun of me, and it'll be
No,
great.
then we'll go into the sponsorship by Audible.
That is like when we put together the audio version that goes public, that is my lead ad block.
That's
This
perfect.
podcast brought to you in part by Audible.
Oh man, that's perfect. Oh, man. Yeah, they don't
so,
sponsor me, man, but I do have affiliate links for them, so I usually use those sometimes.
You're hooking me up. It's great. I don't even have to do the ad block now. I'll just cut this part of the video up. So,
Um,
one last serious question before we start wrapping this up,
yeah.
and it's something that I think everyone has had sort of a slightly different answer to. Um, I don't know. I don't know how, if you've been following any of my videos, but I've become kind of a cranky zealot for hearing health.
Right.
Where I feel like I make a lot of snide comments about things like earpods and AirPods. But I do have concerns when we see a correlation, not causation, but we see a correlation from the rise of the iPod to the current smartphone society that we have, which I think Apple deserves some credit for driving consumer electronics the way they have. But over that adoption rate, we also see huge spikes in hearing loss
Right.
in basically every age demographic, but concerningly in younger and younger tech consumers. Um, Not to make this a diatribe against the AirPods, more, you're probably like me. I'm getting that sense where there's a good part of almost every day where you have some kind of audio solution bolted to your head.
Right.
So, have there been any concerns for your own hearing health? Are there any best practices that you would share with people that like seem to help you make it through your day, or you're trying to head off any potential hearing loss or tinnitus or anything like that?
Oh yeah, no, man. That's I noticed it when I really started kind of going deeper into headphone reviews, that I was trying stuff out way too loud. And for I think it's I would probably turn them up all the way to see how loud they would go. And
Mhm.
there was a few times where I hurt myself, and I was like, this is not good. I need to stop doing that. So now I, I'll make sure that I start off at a lower volume. But now, even then, just overall, it's sort of also kind of it's become more part of my life now over the past like 6 months, I would say, where I'm actively turning the volume down on things. So whether it's music in the car, whether I'm just listening to music to relax or have fun, or just even if I want to rock out to something, I'm
Mhm.
limiting myself. So, the Android phones have the built-in like 80% limit thing or whatever. It's like if you try to turn it up, it won't let you go
Yeah.
past 80 unless you click OK. But it's one of those things. But now I'm doing it on purpose. And what I've noticed is on headphones where I was able to turn things up to 100%, I can no longer do that.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. So I'm thinking that maybe I don't know if it's helping me or what's going on, but it's almost seeming like it's making my ear a little bit more sensitive
Oh,
to
nice.
louder noises. But I think on the good side, it almost feels like I can hear better.
That's
So
excellent.
yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing. Some people would probably like, oh, you're just cleaning your ears better, but
Oh,
but
because let me tell you,
yeah,
like, I have psoriasis, and so that scarring goes into my ear canals, and, there is a regiment for cleaning headphones before I put them on camera, and even then,
yeah,
sometimes some biology might be on camera.
yeah. No, I mean, there's hardly any way around it. You could try to clean everything the best you can, but
It's so gross.
that's what it comes down to, man. And but I think you're right, man. I think that was why I mentioned it really specifically in my AirPod versus Galaxy Buds video,
Mhm.
where I got into it, where I said, and people were mad. Like there was people
Yeah.
who were angry. They were like, I love the way they sound and they have great sound quality. And I'm like, I'm not saying that they don't sound good. What I'm trying to tell you is the lack of noise isolation means you have to turn them up more.
Yeah.
And in the end, you're listening to stuff way louder than you should be. So now, because I noticed it after listening to the AirPods, I think it was like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And then I pulled them out and I was having like almost like a slight ringing in my ears. And I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, that isn't that's not right. Like, what the heck is going on here? So I couldn't listen to him at a volume level that I wanted to listen to him at because of the external noise. And that was an argument that I got into with people in the comment section. And it was just like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah,
And
for me, it's definitely also a problem of focus. Like, if I want situational awareness, I've been a big fan of bone conduction.
yeah,
So, like, I almost always have, like, my aftershocks at hand, but I don't believe there is a have your cake and eat it too solution. The driver on the AirPods is actually pretty good, which in a weird roundabout way, for me, is really a knock against them,
yeah,
because you will do exactly what you're talking about. Like, I'm outside on at a busy intersection. you're not really conscious of this. It's not like by any type of rational design. It's just, oh, I can't hear my podcast or I can't hear my music as well. And I don't think that people understand. An audiologist sort of described this phenomenon of platform shift,
Right.
where your brain will try to save you from the pain in your ears by sort of lowering your threshold.
Right.
But once you acclimate to that, what do? You turn it up again.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
even with your brain trying to save you, you keep forcing more
Right.
into your ear canal. And I feel like earpod style open ear headphones have been contributing to that significantly. And unfortunately, training an entire generation, several generations of consumers, that this is what quality audio is supposed to resemble.
Yeah. I think they have great potential if they sealed in your ears. You could listen to them. I would say probably maybe a good 20, 15, 20% lower volume, and they would sound incredible. Because just from like when I had them on, I would seal my hands around them so I
Yeah.
could try to get an idea. Okay, this is what they would sound like if they sealed, and they sound excellent. Like I don't dispute the fact that they sound excellent. It was just one of those things where if you have to turn them up so much because of all this external noise, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And I know the Galaxy Buds try to address it with their they have that awareness audio thing where you can
Yeah.
hold
They
the
sort of like Jabras in the pass through.
yeah, yeah. So they
Yeah.
have like the pass through audio, which I think is cool. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think they have potential, but I think they also have a bigger potential of hurting your hearing. So I think we have to move on.
Well, and again, I mean, it's like if I'm having to pick pros and cons, like, and obviously I've been doing this entire most of my sort of podcasts and stuff using in-ear monitors, but I mean, I look at the price of like a really nice pair of Bluetooth cans, and getting molds done. Like these are custom molded to my ears.
Right. Yeah, I remember the video, man. That was cool.
I mean, like that to me was an appropriate expenditure.
Yeah.
Like obviously I'm coming at this from a slightly more professional standpoint where I still make quite a bit of my living on being able to monitor and edit and hear things. And I have that panic attack, like where you're just in the middle of your day and you'll hear like a faint like ring
Yep.
out of one ear for just a minute. And you're like, well, that's it. My career's done. I'm over. Oh, wait, no, it's going away. No, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
okay.
they definitely that freaks me out major. And I mean, I use my I mean, my hearing is critical to my job in a sense because much like auto mechanics, you have to be able to hear like you can hear symptoms and it'll give you an idea what might be
Yeah.
going on and where to locate problems where they might be. Sort of what it comes into
I
for
mean,
that.
that feel goes directly into your ear canal.
Yeah,
So I mean, like if a car's running chunky,
yeah,
like it's one part touch, one part like what my ass feels in the seat, and then one part like what is it, where is it that I'm hearing that from?
yeah. So you have to kind of develop an ear for that stuff. So it comes in handy. So when I have that happen during the day where it's like, bing, I'm like, like, oh God, please no.
Or you start and like not to do, again, I'm not gonna do like, but like Sanford and Son, like, oh, it's the big one.
Yep.
Oh, I'm coming for you. Oh no. And you're like, and I mean, I get a joke about it now, but I can't tell you just the cold sweat dread
Oh, I'm sure.
when when something like that happens, because I definitely suffer from what sort of a newer diagnosis is called hidden hearing loss,
Mm,
where you can go into an audiologist's office and crush a hearing test in a quiet, controlled environment. And then
right.
the second you're at like a mall food court, I'm reading lips. I'm
Yep.
not really talking to you as much as I'm trying to anticipate what words are gonna, like, pattern recognition from the shape your face is making, because
Yeah.
I can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Um, and then so that like as soon as I hear something like a whine or some sort of tinnitus hum or something, like, oh no, that's it. I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
over. It's time to pack up the channel. Please go away. Please go away. Please go away. Please go away. Oh.
No, it's creepy, man. I know what you mean. It definitely will freak you out. I know it's done it to me plenty of times. So, especially in crowded situations. That's how it was like at the Galaxy event. There was so many people talking that I was like, how can they hear each other? I'm like, is it just me? And that would get closer. I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm tripping. Maybe it is just me. But it was just, yeah, it was weird, man, and it happens sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange thing because when I have mine checked, same thing. Everything comes up fine. So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was very appreciative of taking up some time with one of the best audiologists in the country. But she like, oh yeah, and this is what's happening here, and this is called threshold shift, and this is like, oh my god, that's me. Oh, everything you're saying is like all of the damage that I've done to my ears
Right?
when I was young and I was an idiot.
Yeah,
Oh my
we're
god.
like hemophiliacs when we were around doctors. It's like being on WebMD, man. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
That's hilarious. Um, I mean, like, do you roll up because like I caught Glitch Mob in Vegas, and so it was like one of these after parties after a CES event, and my co-host at Newegg, Trisha Hirschberger, got me into this like Dell party, and like we're like, oh hey, cool, and she's like one of these VIP, so we get to like we're right on the stage,
Right.
like we're like Glitch Mob is like I could touch them, like I'm closer than like to the bookcases. So I've got my phone and we're like, oh, I'll take like a cute little video. Oh my god, it's Glitch Mob. This is gonna be so fun. And that first drum hit hits, and the subs move so much air. I almost throw my phone. Like it hit me like a wave, just
Yeah.
bah! And I'm like scrambling. I had my backpack because I had just come from the show floor. I'm
Yeah.
scrambling in my backpack. Like I've got to get some earbuds in my ears because I'm gonna go deaf in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the crowd, and they're like, how do you handle that? Because people are just like jamming, they're rocking out, and you're like, I know almost everyone who was in that room, who was in this like little club, was just getting assaulted
Oh yeah.
by some of the. I mean, like I have sat in front of IMAX subwoofers to feel the rumble. Like when I went to go see Tron Legacy, the best Daft Punk music video ever made.
Right.
Like I picked my seats in the theater, so like I need to sit exactly in front of the sub, the worst possible seat to like
Yeah. You're
watch
like
the
looking straight
movie.
up.
Yeah, I'm looking straight up. But like I had never been hit as hard as Glitch Mob, and everyone around me is just like this is amazing and dancing it up, and you're like, how 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 could you do that? I
Yeah.
know I've lost a significant chunk of hearing,
Oh
and
yeah.
I can't handle this at all. Like my skull is exploding. What are you people doing?
Yeah. That's how we used to do it back in the day when my brother would. He doesn't do it very often now, but he used to DJ massives and raves and stuff. So he would get me in, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, let me go hang out with them." Then they turn the freaking music on. You're in this concrete warehouse,
I used
and
to go to all of those
oh,
like
dude,
2 a.m, get kicked off by like a gas powered generator outside
yeah.
warehouse parties out in Albuquerque.
Oh man,
And
dude,
like you would just dehydrate and dance until you'd fall over or the sun would come up.
yeah.
And I would stand in front of the subs and be like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, this is awesome. Oh my gosh, glow sticks.
And the next whole day is just like, what? What did you say? Yeah, nobody could hear squat, man. It was those were, yeah, I don't know how I did it, man. Because now if I try to do it now, I'm like, oh my god. I think the next one, the next loudest thing I've had anything in recent memory was when a few friends took me to the NHRA Nationals. So the full on top field
Oh
dragster.
shit.
And
Yeah.
everybody's wearing ear protection. I'm up there, and the bleachers like, hey, this is great.
Race cars.
Dear God, when those cars took off, I swear I thought I had a heart attack. It was
Yeah.
so incredibly powerful. I was like, you know what? We're going to move down to the finish line, and we should be safe. It was even worse because they're going 300 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, but I never felt anything hit me in my chest. Like I thought the raves and the speakers and all that stuff. When when those dragsters took off, I never heard anything like that in my. It was like it's like not even so much as heard as it was
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
I swear I almost fell out of that bleacher. I'm like, so I don't know. It's something that I tell people like everybody should experience it at least once. It's like when you go to like the monster truck shows, take your kids to
Hmm.
the monster truck. It's so loud, but you're like 30 feet away from them. You're like, what? Dude, it was insane.
I mean, it's I used to be a shooting sports instructor in the Boy Scouts,
Yeah.
and so like when we would do shotgun, you're
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh god.
here are your cans. Never, ever, ever pull the trigger on this without these on.
Yeah. Oh god. I did it before to see what it was like in case, because obviously, um, God forbid you're in an emergency and you actually have to fire, a
Yeah.
firearm without ear protection on. I wanted to hear what that was like. That was stupid because
Yeah. Have you ever see I think it's who is it, Bill Burr
yeah,
does like a whole stand-up routine on that. I think he's playing to a crowd in Texas and he's like, yeah, the second you pull that trigger once, like you're screwed because you're totally deaf. If you can't see the guy in the dark and he's coming for you, you can't even hear who he's because it's basically like I pulled the trigger once and I didn't even really finish hearing the gun retort. It was just like
and deaf. Oh god, I was outdoor. I couldn't imagine doing it indoors. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, that's
I never worked on a shooting on an indoor shooting range. And in the Boy Scouts, it's not like they were playing with like
yeah,
pistols and stuff. It was like rifles and shotguns. But yeah, even on an open air range at a summer camp, it was like, and put this on your skull. I
yep.
don't care that it's like 80 degrees with 95% humidity. And you're the third person who's worn these today. Put this on your skull.
What I want to know is that I want that indoor gun range sound deadening, man. I need to figure out what they're using because that stuff is legit. Like I need
It's crazy.
if I don't hear anything coming out from outside, then I need that in my I need to treat a room with that stuff.
Well, and also real scary too, because then it's like if something goes wrong, like no one will ever hear you scream.
Oh, yeah, that stuff is powerful. It's like, what are they using? 'Cause I'm like, I know that's not that $12 acoustic foam you get on Amazon. Huh?
Right. I was like the ones that I just added is like I put these up on the walls. Literally, they don't do anything for sound treatments. I just like the look of them.
Yeah,
I think that looks nice. I think it looks nicer than having like my weird cream walls that I refuse to repaint. It's just like black and blue.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, they're good for decor, I guess you could say.
No, I bet you those gun ranges are just nothing but like cinder block, like 4 times the density or like 4 times the thickness of like what a normal like drywall and wood.
Yeah, sometimes it's like what I don't know what they're doing because I'll go in there and I'm like, I kind of want to go back and ask them, like, what did you guys treat? What did you guys build this with? Because you'll see them in there, and if you walk in, you have to have ear protection on before you go in, and once you get in there, it's so loud, and you're like, how do I not hear this outside those doors? Like, it's like crazy, man. But yeah, I need to figure out what that is, man. Improve my audio with whatever they use.
Totally. All right. So this is all true. I very much appreciate you taking the time to kind of break this down with me because again, this was sort of the audio chat that I was sort of thirsting for was like I could just put out a blog post just telling you, "Hey guys, I like to listen to these songs and then I like to listen on this type of hardware." And that's where an audio review comes from. When a gadget geek loves a pair of headphones very much, he gives them a special hug, and that's where a YouTube video is born. Um, but just before we kind of wrap this up, I need to leave off with sort of a silly question. Something terrible has happened. The end of civilization as we know it. You and your family are okay. They're safe, but you only have time to grab 3 albums before you have to jump in the bunker with your family.
Oh man.
What 3 albums make the cut?
Oh. Well, I think the first one off top would have to be probably have to take Santana's like greatest hits. It would have to be that or like Supernatural, but I think the greatest hits give you a better wider range of his music. So something
I
like
was just
that.
gonna say Supernatural's pretty legit. I mean, like you've
I
seen
know.
Supernatural show up in my audio reviews, so yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I could jam on that too. But the
Yeah.
greatest hits is probably safer.
I think probably that. What would be the next
I mean,
one?
again, Calamity and Apocalypse. I mean, you might be the only resource for like modern music
Yeah.
to sustain and to survive. 2 more. What else makes the cut in here? We've got some people in the chat. I mean,
Dark Side of the Moon. Well, I know for me after Santana, it would have to be something like yeah, I think it would have to be something like either Marvin Gaye or Al Green.
Oh, okay.
Something like that, along those lines. Something that will really, something just kind of capture that vibe and feel of the Motown stuff. Um, I mean, it sucks because I would have to absolutely leave hip hop and a lot of that stuff out of it. I think my last one would have to be I'd have
I
to be
mean,
Earth,
if you've
Wind,
got good samples of other music, then
and Fire, right?
you could revive hip hop.
That's true, right? You have to bring the right stuff. Yeah, it'd probably have to be Earth, Wind, and Fire. I would say.
Oh, I mean, just imagine all of the funk samples you could pull.
Yeah,
I mean, you that's almost better because I was gonna say, like, you know, you'd want the amen break, and then you'd have like every drum kit that's ever been used in hip hop from like the 70s to the 90s. But actually, Earth, Wind, and Fire, that's a good one.
yeah. They just encompass so many different types of sound, and even in just one album, it's so the vocals are so different, the voices so different, and they go through such a wide range of instrumentation. And there's so much. I don't know. There's so much emotion in what they say and stuff. Like you could listen to a song like September, and you could be having the worst day, and it'll just turn your whole day around. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would
And
probably be
now,
it.
now tell me, like, again, don't you feel like we're getting old when the riffs from September, you catch your ear and you expect someone else's sample of it, and then September actually plays, and you're like, "Oh,
It's the actual
oh, but
song.
I love this song."
Oh, that happens all the time, man. You hear a lot of different samples and stuff, and you're like, "Is this it? Where's this gonna
Is
go?
it
Where's it gonna go?" So yeah, there's a lot of that.
is this Under Pressure or is this Ice Ice Baby?
Yeah.
What's about to happen here?
Oh yeah, they kill me with that stuff, man. But it's cool. I mean, we got to do what we got to do. So, but yeah, I think that would probably be it, man. I think those three would be what I would have to take. It's not a huge wide variance in it, but I think I think it would be great. I wouldn't get tired of it. At least I hope I wouldn't get tired of it.
Well, and again, I feel like that's a good pick too. If you were to then take samples of that, you could start to recreate other forms of music too.
Somebody thought I was going to say Taylor Swift.
I, I actually, what was I can't remember what's the name of they have one of her concerts on Netflix, and I just
Oh
had it on while I was like, again, this isn't going to be music that speaks to me on any kind of deep emotional level, but like, damn, that girl hustles.
yeah,
Like that live show is legit. And
yeah,
and like I kept finding myself like in between shots, like trying to get close-ups on like a phone camera sensor or something like that. And like just sort of drifting. Like I've just been rolling 2 minutes of footage because I stopped paying attention to the camera and
right,
I was watching the concert. Like,
yeah,
okay, all
yeah.
right.
It happens, man. You get wrapped up in that kind of thing too, man. So even that goes into part of the testing of headphones, man. Like
Oh,
when I do
it's
movie and stuff like that testing to listen to
it slows
sound.
me down so much because like again, like I am way too easily distracted.
Yeah,
There's a
just
game I want you to try. You probably want to focus more on playing it on Android for your headphone stuff, but you should totally check out Thumper.
okay.
So it's a little it's a silly game to describe, but it was actually born on the PlayStation VR, and you play this little beetle on a track, but it's this very sort of modern meets art deco nightmarish landscape,
Huh.
and you sort of fight through rhythm tapping.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very moody ambient sound that then as like you have to turn to hit part of the track that bends really aggressively, and that like has to line up with the beat, and then these pulses hit, and if you land on the pulses correctly, then you like shoot a laser blast at this like nightmarish boss creature that kind of starts floating into the ether and stuff, and like it's real moody and it's really atmospheric.
Nice.
And when you put on some good headphones, it's surprisingly immersive played from your phone. You can totally tell like this was originally supposed to be like in a VR headset.
Yeah.
But like looking through your little phone screen, I kicked off all the lights and I threw on some headphones. And you're like, oh, this is good.
Oh, you know what? There's one other game that totally caught me by surprise that the soundtrack was just incredible, but the game frustrates me to no end, and I had to rage quit. Was Cuphead.
Oh, Cuphead's amazing.
Oh my god, the soundtrack on Cuphead is
Oh,
so
everything, the art direction and the
oh, dude,
animation style.
it's
So
incredible.
I made it to the second world at the amusement park, and
Yeah,
I've about tapped out.
yeah. I couldn't get past that. I think I failed on like the third or fourth one the third or fourth.
Oh, the one of the third or fourth
Oh
boss
god,
fight.
dude, I don't have the hand-eye coordination. I just don't. You know, when you play a game where you realize that I just don't have it,
Right.
and I don't. You know, it's like I don't want to put it in like super easy mode or something. You know, it's like, but it's. Oh my god, man! It was brutal. Like me and my wife was watching. She's like, "You just need to stop. Like you need to stop. This is getting out of hand. You're gonna throw a controller through your monitor. Like don't." Yeah,
So it's funny that you should say that. I mean, like, I sort of petered out on it. I put it down one day, didn't pick it up the next, didn't pick it up a week after that, and I just sort of let it rest. Like, I think I have gotten what I want out of that game, and I got something. I mean, for how cheap that game was, I
oh
feel
yeah,
like I was satisfied.
yeah,
It's funny that you say that though. Like, I had my wife sit down, and she almost threw the controller on the tutorial
yeah,
when you have to like double jump off those little like pink glowing things.
yeah.
My wife is like the
Oh,
sweetest, like she's kind of a little on the prim side,
yeah.
and I almost got like a full and it like just kind of like evaporated out of her mouth, but it was gonna be the hardest F bomb I think I'd ever heard her drop.
Oh,
And it was like tiny little Marie hand clenched,
yeah.
put the controller back down. And like she didn't even make it out of the tutorial.
Oh man. Yeah,
That game is brutal.
yeah, it's man. I'm not. I know I'm not alone in this. I know there's people out there. You know, like one of the guys, Peter says the people who speedrun Cuphead. Yeah, I've seen the videos, man. I've seen people who are really good at it, but I'm not that.
That's a
I'm
different
not that guy.
species.
Yeah, I'm not that dude, man. My the games I play are different, and I really liked it. I thought it looked cool. I seen people playing it, and it was fun. But it
Yeah,
just got to the point where I tried and tried. I must have tried that same level, I'd say 50 plus times, and I was like, okay, that's it. I've done enough. We are done here. But the music and everything else about that game, like I see why it won awards because it is a beautiful game. The way that
it
it's
really
done
is.
and the musical score behind it is just like that was everything. I was really, really amazed by that.
And it's just one of those gems. It's like a labor of love.
Oh yeah. Somebody
The other one that you might like too. It's more like again a really great soundtrack focused game. I just fired it up. One of the producers at Newegg hipped me to it. Is a game called Ape Out,
oh,
where you play an ape trying to escape this lab, and it's jazz brutality. Like
oh,
you basically have to evade and kill as many humans as you can in this fight or flight response animal panic to get out of this lab where there's like a fog of war, so like you can't see what's around the next corner.
right.
Top down, real art deco style art direction, and the music is just driving you like the wild heartbeat of a caged animal trying to scratch and claw its way out.
It sounds
And
like
it's kind of cartoony, but like you get caught up in it real fast.
that.
And it's all procedurally designed too. So it's not like map one and you die a bunch of times and then you're like, oh, well, now I know what map one is like. Every time you run the map, it comes up with a new procedurally generated like escape path for you to try and get through. So it's like you always have that animal panic. I never know what's going to come around the corner. I never have my bearings down. People are trying to kill me. I'll grab this guy and use him as a shield. Then I'll smash this guy's head into a wall. Then I'll punch and kick this dude and throw him through a window. Oh no, 4 other guys are here with assault rifles. And now I've got to like sort of like strafe out so that I can get away. It's crazy. But
Nice.
again, a
Mobile or
major
what?
part of that. What's that?
It's PC or is it mobile?
No. That's Steam and Switch.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
mean, a bunch of people are telling me like play it on Switch. I actually like. I love putting my nose in my oversized monitor,
Yeah.
and again, it's like I can't escape the game. I'm a panicked animal, and I must free myself. And then, like, I've only beaten the first map. I've only played it a couple times.
Nice.
The feeling of escape is so like relieving.
Oh, I'm sure. I know what you mean, man.
It just lights you up so bad, and it's hard. It's genuinely hard, but not in like a cheap way. It's like I have let this ape down by not being a better video game player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, I know what you mean.
Well, sir, I think it's about that time. I mean, we've gone 2 hours, and this blew by, and I want to thank you so much for joining us, and also just to point out, I'm super jealous of your Lego Hulkbuster
Oh,
because I have the little ones,
yeah. No, I've got those
the
too.
and Hulkbuster is my all-time favorite Iron Man armor, and I keep wanting to, and then sort of holding back from buying the mega-sized Hulkbuster, and I think you might have just pushed me over the edge to getting
Oh,
myself a present.
and I want to put it together so bad, dude. I just don't have anywhere to display it because we moved, and now I'm in a tiny place, so I don't have anywhere to display. Like that's just one. That's just one of the pieces that I pulled so that I had something for like kind of like my background here. But like
Yeah.
my main Lego collection's all in storage. Like that was such a big thing for me, and now it's all just kind of hidden away until we get into a bigger place and I can set it all up again. So
I had the same thing. We when we moved into this is Gadget Lab 3. It's a more square space with way less storage.
yeah.
And basically had to put away my entire Transformers collection,
Oh
which
yeah,
yeah,
that's like the worst, man.
I'll never make fun. I'll never tag someone like, oh, fidget spinners, because my fidget spinners are old Autobots. You know, like I need something to occupy my fingers and my brain. Car, robot, car, robot, car, robot.
Yeah,
Um,
literally, man. That's a big.
and
I can't wait. I need to. I just kind of like. I feel like I need to clear a space in here somewhere to put them together because it's just been bugging me. I got it for my birthday last year, so it's going to be almost a year that I've been sitting on this thing, and it's like because not only this one, but the one after this, I've got the Voltron, and I'm
oh
like, I can't.
man,
Where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put it? So
yeah.
if I can't put the Hulkbuster anywhere, where am I going to put Voltron? So yeah.
And that kit is so well done. I want that one so bad.
Got the Tron one above this one, and like I can't bring my Star Destroyer home. Like, dude, it's just yeah, it's I've got
So
the
I mean,
most.
like I have a TIE fighter. I didn't get too deep into Lego and Star Wars, and I didn't get into anything like Jurassic Park or any
No,
of those. But like, man, that Voltron looked sick. The Bugatti is awesome. There was that old vintage Aston Martin. My daughter loves to go and play with the Duplo pit. There's a little Lego store in our mall, and
yeah.
every time I walk by, I'm like, I want that Aston Martin so bad.
Oh, it's nice, man. They've
Oh.
got a Mustang now. The big one for me that I still have and I need to put together. I have the bus, the Volkswagen bus,
Oh yeah.
the T1. I've got the T1 camper. I haven't put it together. I've even got LED lights for it, so it lights up the interior. Like I've got the whole thing, and yeah, like I'm saying, man, it's a big collection, but I'm like, I can't. I don't have space. I just don't have space. And
I know.
it
It's
kills
like,
me.
and even from like my bookshelves is like I would pack those so much more with so much more stuff if I thought that looked good
Oh
on
man,
camera.
I was thinking about that myself, but we live on top of a fault line, and
Oh yeah.
even if it's like a 2 point, we feel it here. Like I literally, we're like 40 feet from the fault line here.
Hmm.
So even little tiny ones, we're like, oh, it was just a 2 pointer. I'm like, you should sit on top of the fault line and feel that 2 pointer. So
And in our condo is those like over unders too.
yeah,
So like my office is on the second floor, and I feel like every little wobble.
yeah,
And even this is probably dangerous. I have it kind of bolted in, like you can kind of see the drywall tacks.
yeah.
If we get anything more than like a 4.0, like it'll probably pop out of the drywall
Yeah,
if we get hit too hard.
oh man, they're asking about your prime figures on the shelf behind you.
Oh, okay. So a DTNL. I mean, you asked this during the Monday morning podcast too. Uh, Short story long. Let's talk about me again while I'm trying to wrap up this podcast. Yeah, I do have three Optimus Primes. One of the Optimus Primes is Robots in Disguise. Another one is from the Minicon sort of era. And then, of course, you've got the bigger classic Optimus and then the Unicrons over on the side. But where I'm pointing right, I can't because I'm mirrored image right there. That orange line is a reel to reel recording of Peter Cullen, the original voice of Optimus Prime. That's his voiceover demo
Nice.
on reel to reel, so on audio tape. And that's to me the crown jewel
Yeah,
of my Transformers collection.
that's awesome.
I got to record him once. I like was kind of not really allowed to talk to him because I was just an engineer. I wasn't directing that session.
Yeah,
But he's the one who was largely responsible for me figuring out that voiceover could be a job, because he was the voice of Optimus Prime in the Transformers, my all-time favorite toy cartoon franchise. He was also the voice of Car, Knight's automated roving robot, the evil Trans Am, which made 2 appearances in Knight Rider. And as a little kid, it blew my mind that the same voice who was a good guy in Transformers was a bad guy in Knight Rider.
Yeah.
And I would tell people this, and none of them would be as impressed as I thought they should have been. And that's when I realized, like, oh, that's not like an actual talking Trans Am. That's like someone's job. That could be a job. And that's what got me into voiceover.
Oh, nice. Yeah, dude, that was the coolest thing, man. I was really young when the Transformers were doing their thing, but that's some of my earliest memories was actually playing with an Optimus Prime in the trailer and the whole thing. And it's like when I think back on that, I'm like, oh god, I could just imagine if I still had that freaking thing.
I know. So I got rid of so many of them, and like, I'm an idiot. And thankfully, some of them have come back. Like my wife got me a Starscream and Soundwave.
I was gonna say that was like my favorite one. Soundwave. Oh man.
But I used to have every single cassette tape, and like an idiot in high school, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just sell this off to some other kid, and I'll get like $20, and I'll go and like eat fast food. And you're like, I wish I could go back in time and just shake the crap out of myself for being an idiot. Like, this brought you so much joy, and you're gonna miss it so bad when it's gone. You idiot teenager, don't do it.
That's how it goes, man. That's exactly how it goes. There's all those things we regret. Like I sold off my comic book collection for my first car, so I can just imagine what that'd be worth now.
So the nice thing is like I was into a bunch of comics that never became valuable. So I mean, I would look in all the comics guides, and like I've got Leonard Nimoy's Primortals, and I've got like some steampunk stuff before steampunk was cool. I've got like every like Venom run, and you're like, well, I mean, it's gone up in value. Like if the entire set's going to be $5, and you're like, well, I'm not going to sell it for $5. I'll just keep it, and maybe it'll be worth something more. And then like a year later, well, the entire set's good for about $4.75. Like, oh, son of a.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one in the most recent memory for me was I had all the I had the original appearance of like Deadpool, and
nice.
I had the full run of like the first when he got his first solo comics. It was in the early 90s and stuff. I had that full run, and I had stuff like that. And now once the movie came out, I was like, oh my god, if I still had that. Like I just and especially the first appearance.
Yeah. I maybe the only one that might be worth something. I have a first run of Batman Nightfall where he got his back broken.
Yeah.
Like, Bane on the cover. And I do have that. That one might be worth a little something because it was a first run, first print. But not much. Because again, I mean, also that whole comic series was just done to death. Peter in the live chat is totally feeling us though. I sold off my PV 800 watt base stack for a pittance because I was broke. I still kick myself over that. I totally feel that. Dude, I've been in that spot too.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it goes. Like, I think the only thing I held on to for the longest time was I had the first run. I think it was like the first 20 or the first 30 of Spawn. And that was basically the same thing. What ended up happening was I needed to make ends meet, and I had to sell it off, and that hurt the most because when I got that, the reason I was getting that stuff was because I was working for a comic book vendor, so I was able to get everything like fresh, like as soon as it hit, straight into sleeves, and I would put straight into a sleeve and hold it, and then he would let me read whatever I wanted to read, so I wouldn't even have to ruin my own copy. I wouldn't have to open my own
awesome
copy. So I was like, yes, I would, I had all of them. Everything was super crispy mint, everything. And it was just, dude, it's, yeah. It's the worst. It's the worst.
That's awful.
Yeah, dude, Bills, man.
Well, that's probably the best note to end this on. Yeah. I like getting to the end of a really, sort of a really in-depth and educational conversation by talking about regret.
Yep. It's how it works, right?
Real quick before I push stop on this. Again, thank you for jumping onto this chat. You have one of those feelings like before you jump into a conversation, you're like, I really feel like we're going to be simpatico on some of these ideas. So this was a fun way for me to sort of express this, kind of untangle some of these nuances. And one of those things too, and not like I expect people to watch a 2-hour conversation between the two
Right.
of us to like get a handle on our reviews, but if we're not having these kinds of conversations and people don't know where we're coming from, then I feel that's really the worst trap for how people fall into this binary worth it, not worth it. Well, I like these headphones better than these headphones, so these headphones are the winner.
Right.
Which I don't feel headphone reviews that take a little care, or take a little, examination don't really get the credit that they deserve, which is why I was, again, so excited to find your channel and some of the other people that you've sort of brought to my attention that are producing some quality content on YouTube too.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. No, I'm glad we had the conversation, man, because I was looking forward to it. I've been watching your stuff for a long time. Um, it was just it's cool, man. I was seriously humbled. Even my wife was like, it's like I was like nervous to do the podcast and stuff, man, because it's I'm not like trying to stroke your ego or anything like that, man. But I mean, I've been watching your stuff, been in the comment section, watching the live streams, and going through that stuff, and even on like because I followed the New Egg channel for the longest time as well. So that was just one of those things where being able to have the conversation to me that's an honor to me because of your background, where you come from. I got a lot of respect for that. So I know the work that it takes to do. I don't really know it that way, but I have a good
Oh no,
idea.
you do. No, I'm serious. You've been putting out high quality videos. I think we're just gonna keep saying nice things to each other. But no, I mean, like that's what's so exciting. I think you're also coming at a time where it's never been harder for a new content creator to build up on YouTube. Like I think YouTube's putting barriers into place,
Oh yeah,
and watching you build up a community with that as the focus, with that as the purpose of having those conversations. I think you've shown you sort of illustrated, unless YouTube is going to deign you as one of those 4 million subscriber channels that somehow always ends up in my recommendations, even though I keep telling YouTube that I'm not interested in watching that kind of content.
right.
Your videos, I think, do a great job of illustrating like subscriber count doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
If there's an audience for a conversation, if there's an audience for finding a resource like yours, your videos punch way above your subscriber count.
yeah,
And again, if this is about building a community and this is about illustrating a conversation and also hopefully educating along the way,
yeah.
that your videos are excellent examples of that.
I
So I've
appreciate
been really happy to find you.
that's appreciated, man. Yeah, conversations with you. This is great. Had a chance to talk to Thunder E a couple of times on a couple of occasions.
Right?
Talking to him
Good
is
dude.
amazing.
Real good dude.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a blessing, man. Thankfully, and I just appreciate you guys are just everybody treats each other. That's a big thing that a lot of people get misconceptions on is that creators have this thing where there's a barrier because of subscriber count, that it's an actual barrier and it's not. And at least in my experience, it hasn't been, because any interactions I've had with other creators who are either in the 100,000s or 50,000 or even in the millions have all just been like everybody's on equal terms.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it, man. Everybody's been super welcoming because I'm a relative newcomer to the whole community, to the whole scene, but everybody's been very welcoming, which I'm super appreciative of.
So I mean, let's wrap this out on some plugs. Where can people find more of your content? Catch up with you on social media, and what's maybe like a sneak peek? What are some things that you're working on that people are going to get to see on your channel soon?
Oh yeah, so I mean, social media, it's mostly going to be Twitter. That's where I'm heaviest on, and obviously on YouTube, all under El Jefe Reviews. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. If that's your thing, I'm also there as well. And then as far as stuff coming up, um, I've got a couple speakers coming out. Tribit sent me a nice speaker. BenQ sent me a nice speaker, and then I've got just a
How did BenQ send you a speaker? You know what BenQ sends me? They send me lamps.
nice. Yeah, they sent me a speaker. I was like, you guys make speakers? Sure.
I mean, don't
I'm
get me
intrigued.
wrong. I really do use one. I've got like this desktop lamp over here, which is amazing and it's great.
Right.
It's way too expensive, but I love it. It's a great lamp.
Yeah.
I was asking you, you're like, hey, well, what about like monitors and some of your audio kit? And they're like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll do that. Like they sent me another lamp.
Yeah. As soon as I said monitor, they were like, yeah, right now we're doing the speakers. I'm like, oh, okay.
All
So,
right.
yeah, so they got that coming, and then I'm starting a what I'm calling sort of like a budget audiophile type series. So
Okay.
for everything that's like, like the KZ stuff that's super inexpensive, but things that are under $100
Nice.
that people can easily get to get into some higher quality audio, but for a really budget price, I'm starting off something like that, which is going to be starting off like under 50 or under 100, so stuff like that. So I'm starting off a new series with that stuff. It's going to be wired stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, so because I've been doing a ton of wireless, the algorithm likes when I put wireless in my videos, but I need to do stuff for me as well. So yeah, so it's going to be a mix. So I'm going to be doing both and getting more into the wired stuff.
Well, and definitely know when we're starting to put those out, because I will happily, I'll get Annabong on it too. I will happily help pimp anything that's still like, hey, you can plug in a cable.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, and I want people to have that. I mean, wireless is great, and I appreciate everything about about Bluetooth and the wireless stuff as well. But I think people are sort of missing out, and they're not understanding that there's something better. I think there's more to it than just wireless, and some of this wired stuff are really really inexpensive and is really really good. So
Totally.
yeah,
Well, that's gonna do it for us, man. 2 hours plus, and we're at like 2:20 right now. This has
nice.
been a phenomenal conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And also to everyone in the chat, I just continuing on a phenomenal discussion. Again, like I was reading through what you guys were posting, and also sort of like kind of nodding along with some of your points in there too. And I don't want you to feel like we ignored you. That was a great addition to this conversation. And I really appreciate everyone who took the time to watch this, to join us on this audio journey
Yeah,
that we took with you all today. And again, to the folks that dropped some super chats too, I just greatly appreciate the support and the production on this channel. Of course, if you'd like to support more content like this and more creator chats, production diaries, behind the scenes, you can catch me around the web at SomeGadgetGuy. Subscribing to this channel is always appreciated. Then hitting my website, SomeGadgetGuy.com, where I've got affiliates and partnerships and all that stuff too. If you want to try and kick me a little scratch on the side, also it's greatly appreciated. So folks, we're gonna wrap this one up. The creator chat on the SGGQA podcast feed. You can catch most of my podcasts are news and politics and technology, but the creator chats are where you're going to get that behind the scenes look at how people are getting their stuff done, and especially when I'm excited about the way they're getting their stuff done, like I was here. So on that note, I want you all to have a phenomenal evening or morning or whatever time zone it is for when you're watching or listening. I want you to have a phenomenal week with your tech. Do awesome with your tech. Be awesome with your tech. And I'll catch you all on the next podcast. Take care. Love you all. I just hit my headphone and I bumped the mic.
oops.
Now I'm going to end this.